Hey,
Hey.
welcome to Metalheads Unite. I guess as you can see from the beginning there, Jack Russell from Great White has passed 63. Uh, and trying to do something a little different on the show this week. So
Yeah.
we get those things. Intro to the show. But for the good news, we have our first three-peat guest coming on the show. Rick Jimenez, Extinction A.D. is back with us. You missed earlier in the year. He was in support of the EP.
Yep. Ruthless Intent EP that came out back in February, if I remember correctly, is when that came out.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, never one to rest on their laurels. I mean,
Ruthless Intent, yeah, it was I think February. Actually, maybe in January. He was on the show on January 17th.
That's right. I definitely knew it was earlier in the year.
Yeah.
I knew it was still winter time when he was on for the second time talking about the Ruthless Intent EP. Back then, he hit us with that surprise that we were gonna have another, another new dose of Extinction A.D. come 6 months later, 7 months, and lo and behold, fast forward to today, August 16th, the new album is out. Rick will be with us shortly, but before we do, it is that guy's birthday. That guy.
One over there.
Yeah, today is this one's birthday. So happy birthday.
What a hell of a birthday present to have new Extinction A.D. music and Rick come on the show.
Hell yeah.
Pretty big birthday present for me anyway.
Yeah. He probably, and Rick is probably backstage just now going, oh shit, I didn't know that. He probably had no idea.
Without further ado, we'll bring Rick in here and get to talking about the new album and all what's been going on the last 6-7 months here. So, without further ado, what is up, Rick?
What's up, man? Happy birthday! Shit.
Yeah, see, he didn't know.
Yeah, the big 2-1. Now you could drink legally.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Because he's definitely been drinking illegally this whole time.
Nice.
Luckily, I don't drink too much, so I don't have to fall in that category too much.
Well, yeah, not too much. Evening, Dana. Dana Horn in the chat, everybody. So yeah, it's kind of strange how all that timing worked out. We saw, of course, the singles and everything coming out ahead of time. And, Rick, when you were here with us last time talking about the Ruthless Intent EP, you kind of let us know that we had a chance we were going to be looking forward to this. And we actually have been looking forward to it. I mean, amongst everything else that has come out this year, and there's been a lot of good stuff that's come out. We've had a lot of great guests between then and now. But it's been on our radar the whole time, and we've been looking forward to it. And, just seeing it on the list for the 16th, we're like, oh shit, look at that. So just the way everything kind of, the stars aligned and everything. And, here it is. His birthday, your release day. And for me, it's just Friday.
Dude, it was crazy. Cause like you said, we put out the EP in I don't even remember, January-ish or something.
Yeah.
We had this record done, I guess, a month before that. So we're just sitting and waiting on it. And it was like, when the fuck is this ever going to come out? Then it got to the point where like, all right, we're going to do some videos. We're going to do another video. We're going to do a little documentary, this, that, and the other thing. And then it was kind of like, oh, well, we just kind of sat around and waited and prepared. Now it's like, go, 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 go. And as things tend to happen, like certain things kind of have to be left to last minute. And then all of a sudden you're like, why did we leave this to last minute? It's like rushing and doing all this shit. So I feel like we did some shows in January. We did some shows in May, I think into the beginning of June. But then it's like, okay, video, documentary and video. Let's get our YouTube show going again. let's book another tour for the release of this record. And then always little things that come up like, oh, wait a minute, the artwork files for this CD that you finished 8 months ago are all fucked up. So you got to rush and redo your whole entire album artwork and stuff like that. So it was a lot of, wait, hurry up. No, wait. Okay, hurry up. Wait. So I have like no semblance of time almost over the last year, because I feel like we started recording to the Detested right after we got back from Europe in August, give or take. Oh, you know what? We usually are ahead like a disgustingly amount. Like when we recorded our first EP, we were recording that in February 2014.
Uh-huh.
I was writing songs in the studio for our second record while we were recording our first EP. So it's kind of always been like that. So like I said, February 2014, I was writing songs for a record that came out in March or February 2018.
Mm-hmm.
This record is the first time ever, like we had some riffs and maybe some skeletons for songs and everything, went on tour. I might have spoken to you guys about this earlier in the year. When we got back from the tour in August, we're like, oh, this is our time frame. We knew we were doing the Ruthless Intent EP to come out in January. And then we had a January 1st deadline for masters, artwork, everything just fucking done for To the Detested January 1st to have it out August 16th. So it was like, oh, we don't really have an album's worth of songs. And it's the first time ever. And it was like, we kind of purposely did that instead of sitting on songs. Like, let's have it be fresh, let's not really overthink it. And we did not. We just kind of like, and it's not like we came up with fucking whatever and threw it on there, but it was like, yo, let's fucking go to work and crush it. And I think because we had toured so much in 2022, and then we just come off this gigantic European tour in 2023, we were ready to go and inspired and excited and happy and furious and pissed and all this stuff. And that made everything more fresh than ever for us. Like, all right, we had, like I said, a couple of skeletons and stuff like of songs and structures. All right, let's bang out 13 songs, and then we're going to pick the 10 best that make a cohesive album, as well as stuff for the EP. So at that point, we were essentially done with the EP already. But that process had started, and some songs we had left over from the EP made it into consideration for the full length. But I don't know if anything even stuck from that. I think it was kind of like at a 13 or 12 new songs, we grabbed 10 and all right, now rush to the studio, get this shit the fuck done. And then, like you said, all right, we're done. Let's take a little break. Well, the EP's coming out. We'll go and play a couple of shows. And then it's like, all right, so what do we do from February, March, April? Like, oh, we'll do some shows in May and June because we exist.
So did y'all play any of those songs during the May and June shows off the new album?
Yeah. We actually, I think we played 2 or 3. And it's funny because the 2 or 3 new songs that we chose to play in May and June, none of those wound up even being singles that we have videos for, which in some ways it's like, what the fuck are you doing? But it was like, hey, let's try some of this shit out. One of the songs we were playing is like, oh, this is like the slowest song we've ever played. Let's play this live and have a different feel. And it's like, yeah, it's really, really fun because we never play slow. At least slow is slow to us.
Yeah, in context, yeah.
Yeah. But at this point, like, I'm pretty sure that we're going to, I guess after these 3 singles are out, we have 3 singles, but we have 10 songs on the record. We might make a video for like every single song on this record, just because like we have fun doing videos, and we started kind of like each one of us in the band kind of been like working on either video editing or camera and all this shit. Like, we'll just fucking do this shit ourselves. Like, we're starting to like really enjoy every aspect of that type of thing. From we record more and more on our own, and like go to the studio later and later and later with every album. And now that we're doing these videos, I was like, fuck it, we could do 7 more videos on our own if we want.
So you were talking about you had a bunch of stuff in the bank, so to speak, when you guys recorded this album. Are you still in that kind of situation now where you've already gotten like a couple of songs written for something futuristic, or no?
I think between Ian and I, we have 3 kind of songs. So like I said, when we were like, all right, let's finish the tour in August and then write 12, 13 songs to be ready to record and have a done record soon. It was fun and fresh. It was also like extremely stressful. So it was a fun experience. I don't think we will. We're not going to do that again for the next album. So we even said when we were done with this record, like, let's start writing right away. Not that we need to like write and learn all these songs, but like, you write some stuff, you write some stuff. I'm going to start writing some stuff when the time allows. It's crazy too. The first song I wrote for, I guess, whatever the fuck we do next, it's like, I told the dudes, I was like, I'm going to show you this new song I wrote. I'm not totally done with it. Like, the ending's still a little wonky, but like, I don't know what the fuck I think I'm doing, but here, listen to it. So I sent it, and Ian's like, I can't believe you wrote this. And I was like, right? So I essentially wrote this like kind of like almost death metal song.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I've never written a death metal song in my entire life. I've never tried to, and like, I think the closest I've come to like, that's death metal-ish is like sprinkles here and there in prior songs. But that new Deicide record, I listened to that like the day it came out, and I was like, dude, this fucking crushes. So I listened to it for like a week and a half straight. And then I just picked up the guitar, and that's what I wound up doing. I was like, did I like rip off Deicide? And it was like, no, but because I know you, I can see how this is like your version of Deicide. Because I've never been a death metal guy. Like, I think I like death metal probably more now than I ever have, but I'm not a death metal guy per se. So it's pretty cool that like I'm just getting so fucking old, but it's like I gotta learn new shit still.
Well, I mean, there were a couple of parts on the on the new album where you got a little low. So I mean, there were some glimpses of some gutturals on the new album. So,
for sure. And I never really pushed myself too hard with that, just because naturally I'm a small person, so my voice is pretty high. When we were doing Culture of Violence, the album, there was a handful of songs I was like, I'm going to try to go a little lower. I was like, oh, this is fun as hell. So I, pushed myself. Then when we were touring on that, doing that live, I was like, I don't think I'm hitting this. I was like, I guess maybe that was like a fluke when I was recording the vocals for that album. But I was like, I know there's specific songs on the EP and then especially the full length on To the Detested that I wanted to do that. So I was like, I'm going to try to go low for this. I was like, oh, I don't have it anymore. And then I would listen back to it, be like, oh, that's like even lower than I was at my lowest on the last album. So I don't know. I think it's honestly that is kind of getting older. where I have a harder time sometimes hitting the higher stuff, even though I do some real fucking high shit on this album too.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's be honest here. What I think I could do is like, oh, I know my lane and my range is kind of like this. I just kind of go for it and hope for the best, and then I'll do my best. I'll put it down and I'll revisit it. And sometimes I revisit like, yeah, you did not hit that. And other times I'd be like, oh, that was a lot better than I thought it was. So if I can do that high and come close, or that low and come close, just go back and do it the right way. So that was kind of the way I did a lot of the vocals on this album. Was I don't want to say trial and error, but it was I mean, I guess it's like working out a muscle, you know. I want to lay down and bench press 265 off the jump, and I know that I can't fucking do that, especially as I get older, you know. So I need to not just I need to warm up, but like if I'm gonna go anywhere close to like benching over 245 now, I need to plan for that for probably like 2 weeks and build up to it. So my voice wasn't bench pressing, 270 on this album, but I mean, it got to the point where I'm definitely, benching 265 at some point.
Well, I mean, you had your moment. You had a couple of moments where you were able to do a set of your max. Then I guess making the weightlifting analogy. So
yeah, speaking of that, I just spilled a bit of this the remnants of this protein shake on my It's Go Time, you asshole tablecloth.
Oh no. Oh man, I can't believe I'm actually gonna do this, but if you don't mind my asking, what are you drinking? Like what brand?
Gold Standard Gainer. Okay. Protein Gainer.
Okay. The only reason, like I say, I can't believe I even asked. The reason why I ask is because where I work, we make that shit for so many different companies.
Oh, really?
I mean, Ghost and Raw Nutrition and Rise and I mean a whole shitload of them. We do, C4 for Nutrabolt, Cybation, all those. I mean, we do. I was just curious, but I'm not plugging any of them. I'm just like I say, I was just curious. So.
And then I provide you the warehouse to sell it in. So
that's very true. We actually do have some customers where we actually have to do all the special labeling for Amazon so we can send it to an Amazon distribution center, which is a colossal pain in the ass, might I add.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So, but yeah, I was just curious, but
you're welcome for that.
Yeah. I guess that's how you get to be a fucking trillionaire. Make other people do your work. So
that's your max bench? It's like 265.
Now, I think in the past 4 or 5 years, I think my max might actually be like 255 or 265. At one point, I did 305, but I mean, that was probably 2018, give or take, where I was like a lot. That was a long time ago. And I was working out so much harder than I do now. And my whole lifestyle was quite a bit different then. When I was on this like super rickety bench too, so it was so fucking unsafe. But now I have like a full actual like proper gym in my basement. But I mean, I don't, if memory serves, I don't think I've sniffed anything over like 265 or 270 in quite a long time. I don't think I could do it, to be honest. But
I'm surprised you didn't say, "Oh yeah, we got off the bus and Ian laid down on all fours and I just jumped on his back and I was just."
That's awesome.
Actually, I think the most I've ever done was 315. So I'm not too far.
Dude, that's a
6-day weekly workout routine.
Yeah, that's a ton of fucking weight. That's a lot of weight.
I mean, not saying I couldn't do it now because I dislocated my shoulder in wrestling years ago and never put it back on. So I can't do a lot of weight on it because it'll pop out while I'm mid weight.
Yep.
Oh Jesus, yeah, no.
Yeah, I actually started clicking the other. I did 275 a while back, and Susie's like, "Yeah, my wife was spotting me, and she's like, oh no, you got to quit. Your shoulder's clicking." I'm like, "Oh hell."
God, man, you know it's bad when someone else can hear it.
Yeah.
275 of dead weight hanging on my chest. So I try to stay 225 and below when I'm bitching. I mean, because it doesn't really matter about unless you're competing in some shit, it doesn't matter how much. I mean, if you're wanting to be just in shape and cut up and stuff, you need to be doing lower weight and higher reps anyways.
Yeah. I couldn't even tell you what I've actually never really I've worked out in my life like in spurts, but I mean, I was always playing sports, so I never really needed to be in shape other than, cardio. So I mean, being able, playing hockey as much as I did, I always just had to make sure that I had my wind, just had my wind. So I was just more worried about, being in shape cardiovascular, cardio wise, and everything else kind of took care of itself. I mean, I was pretty well toned for the longest time, but now that I'm in my mid 40s, it's like both of my elbows are shot, my back's fucked up, my shoulder starts hurting for no goddamn reason. I probably have arthritis in my left knee, and it's like, what the hell's even the point anymore? So it's just, and the messed up thing is, like, I'll go out in my shed to like get the lawnmower out, and I'll look over to the left and all my sticks are there and all that shit. And I look over, I'm like, my head's like, I'm not done yet. My body's like, the fuck you're not.
I have those conversations on the regulars.
Yeah. Oh, I can still play hockey. And then you get out of bed wrong one day, and it's like, oh, never mind. Nope. Never mind.
I can actually say that from recent events, my cardio was poor. So
yeah, that's the messed up. And
I was like, I'm done.
Yeah, and it's messed up because I remember, 20 years ago, I used to be able to play an entire game without, I wouldn't have to take a line change like 20 years ago. And now, I lug the trash cans up the hill to the driveway. I'm like, fuck, God, just can't even,
Have a good night, Dana.
Take care, bud. So yeah, I mean, it sneaks up on you really. It sneaks up on you fast. Oh God! Like Ferris Bueller said, life comes at you fast.
Yeah.
We're officially a year away from the 5-0s.
Oh yeah, that's right. I'm in the, I'm getting there, but I'm a little ways behind you, but getting there. I'm definitely getting there.
So
all right.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say, so speaking of the videos, tell us about how long it took you to make the video where you had to sit in front of the faux library on the newscast and wear that suit. Because I remember when it came out, I even made a smart ass comment about it. So,
Is that what it was?
Yeah, I said I don't know how I feel about Rick and sleeves.
You know what? To me, videos are fun and painless. So even that one was pretty quick. I mean, in all actuality, I wish we would have taken a little more time because, like, I'm not like fucking Mr. Actor. Although we want to do 7 more videos, like I need, step my game up a little bit because I was like, yo, that was pretty good. Then when I'm looking back, I was like, oh, maybe I should have done like a couple more takes of this, that, or the other thing. But I mean, shit was fun. My best friend since 1985 is in that video with me. We filmed a lot of live footage on the last tour we did for that video, which in all actuality, we've never put live footage in a video before, which is like crazy. So that was a fun one. And that was, again, like from start to finish, aside from the live footage from the time, like, all right, we're going to film a little more like us in the space live, as well as the show live footage. That and the newscasting stuff and edit, start to finish. We did the whole thing in maybe 5 days.
Well, that's not bad.
Yeah, where when I say 5 days, it's like 1 day of filming us playing the song a few times, 1 day of filming the newsroom stuff, and then it was, off to the editing and like, all right, I'll have this done for you in a couple of days when I get to it. I'm like, all right, cool. All right, bam, there we are.
Nice. Going a lot smoother since you guys are like doing more of this stuff yourself.
Yeah. The video that came out today, the Burnt Sienna video, that was the first music video that. Okay, so Pete Vandenberg, our original bass player, always does all our video stuff. He is the sometimes host of It's Go Time, You Asshole. He did all the filming and editing for all our other videos aside from Culture of Violence and Mastic. I think every other video he's done for us. The Burnt Sienna video, we did all of that ourselves, start to finish, aside from some very little, I guess, like touch-ups and color correction on the edit of that video. But we filmed all that ourselves. I edited all of that ourselves. So it's like, oh, I guess we can just do this ourselves. And then plus, like I said, Pete, he's a professional video guy. I just feel like I'm overloading him sometimes. Like, oh, do this, do that, do this. So it's like, if I could do, the more I could do on my own, the less I could bother him. And then if I have something that's like 95%, I could send it to him, and his 5% of expertise actually turns a thing into like 175%. So Pete did so we have a documentary, a short, about a 4 or 5 minute documentary on the song Burnt Sienna, coming out on Monday. And Pete did that start to finish, because we've never done something like that. Like sit down interviews and video and straight up, like, not just a podcast or a regular interview, or like, hey, we're filming a documentary for a very personal song. So that's just another thing to look forward to on Monday. And I also was hoping people would check out the album, but specifically the song Burnt Sienna today, and then be a little possibly interested, because it's very different for us.
I was going to bring that up because a lot of that was in Spanish, right?
Yeah, the whole intro and then the middle is in Spanish. The first time I've sang in Spanish completely, like on a song for Extinction A.D. or at all.
It really threw me off when I first started. Wait a minute, this is different. And I actually enjoyed it. And I don't really understand everything in Spanish, don't get me wrong, but some of the words I was like, okay, I know what that is.
Yeah, I could pick out a couple of words too. My Spanish is minimal at best, so.
Well, mine also.
He's like, I know these words, just put in a song. But yeah, I was honestly, when I first seen that name, I said, well, I mean, yes. So I'm glad somebody's kind of bringing that to life, because nobody uses that crayon anymore.
What's funny? What's funny to me is when I saw that, and this may or may not be a deep cut for you guys, but I don't know if you guys watch Family Guy, but there's a cutaway that they did where, and I can't remember the exact episode it was in, but it was a cutaway that they did where Cleveland was in a bar, and I think it was after he divorced Loretta when she cheated on him with Quagmire. But anyway, Cleveland was in a bar, and he was talking to a girl and said, "Hey baby, how would you like to go black and consider whether or not to go back?" And she goes, "I'm sorry, but I went Burnt Sienna and never went back." And there's this burnt Sienna crayon that walks up to the woman and goes, he goes, "Hey baby, who's this clown?" And they both walk out.
Oh my god, I need to find that clip.
So that's exactly where my brain went as soon as I saw Burnt Sienna was that Family Guy clip. So
yeah,
but I mean it was definitely, you know, at first I was like, are they going to do voodoo? Because you had like kind of like the bongo drums or whatever, and the intro was like, God, this sounds like voodoo. And then it slowly started picking up, and then I heard Spanish. Is like, Jesus, are they doing Sepultura now? So I was like, it started off like, okay, this is gonna be Godsmack and Sepultura, and then, so it was like kind of on a little bit of a little roller coaster before the song finally kicked in. I was like, oh shit, all right. And then it picked back up. It was like, there's Extinction A.D. There it is. So
Rick's gonna go out and find that and edit it and put the song on top, overlay it.
Oh, that would be
Put it in a reel.
Hang on. Oh, shit, I'll see if I can find it. Give me a second. Hang on.
Yeah, that was something that was I did want to explore on this album. I knew what I wanted to do, a song that kind of, you know, incorporated a bit of bomba, even though it was like, oh, this is going to be a strange mix, because, you know, bands like Sepultura has incorporated the kind of the tribal thing in it, but, you know, the difference between the Brazilian sound and the Puerto Rican sound has its similarities. You know, it's all, you know, Latin percussion, but when you get down to it, you know, one is very South American and one is very, you know, indigenous Puerto Rican. So I knew I wanted to do something like that, and at that point I knew I wanted to sing in Spanish and kind of go into some certain themes that I had touched on very, very surface level in other songs, but never this deep or personal. And that was, once the song came together, there was no, oh, I don't know if this is going to be weird from the other guys. I kind of presented it, hey, this might be a little weird. They're like, it's not weird. Let's fucking do it. I said, all right, cool.
Yeah.
And at that point, it was like, yo, let's make this one of the singles. And it's like, we should, after, you know, the writing process and the recording process of it, the idea came up, we should do like a little doc piece on this. I was like, hey, I'm totally down for that, because the song is very easy to hear and be like, what the fuck's going on? Oh, you know, it's Sepultura-ish, and all right, cool. But then, you know, the difference in, you know, the style of percussion and the difference of the way I'm singing, what I'm saying, is something different, not just for us, but to me, it's different in metal. So everybody thought it did warrant some explanation. And, you know, I guess I don't want to go too deep into it, but hopefully anybody watching now will be interested and then watch the doc on Monday, which it'll be on Unique Leaders YouTube or our YouTube, and, you know, everybody's social medias and everything too. Because it was a very interesting experience and interesting journey, the writing of the song, both musically and lyrically. And then it was a lot of fun to record, and it was a lot of fun to record the video. So all in all, it's like a really, really cool piece to have be a part of this album and a part of the band. But I mean, in my opinion, we do like a whole bunch of different shit on this album for us, or even for like whatever genre tag you want to give us. Like, oh, you know, it's just another thrash metal album. It's like, we do a lot of shit on this album that's like atypical of thrash. It's like, oh, it's like a cool, like groovy hardcore record. It's like, totally. We do a lot of shit on this record that is outside of that. You know, I don't know. I mean, the record came out today, so a lot of like reviews come out today. And sometimes like I am so appreciative of anybody to pay any attention to us. And hey, I'm on fucking moviepoopshoot.com. Here's my thoughts on To the Detested. And then it's, to an extent, it seems like every other website reads that review and kind of like regurgitates it to a certain extent. And I know it's like so unprofessional to like bring up a qualm with a review, but I'm also not a fucking professional. So
Yeah.
one thing I find strange, and of course it's just my point of view, I'm close to the shit, so I know every subtlety, and other people don't. And plus, you're reviewing records, you put something on, you pay attention to 45 seconds of the first track, and maybe you even leave the whole record on to be in the background. But oh yeah, this is pretty good. It's nothing different. Just kind of it's a hardcore record. It's a thrash metal record. They're not reinventing the wheel, but it's pretty cool. I try not to take that personally, and I don't take it personally. It's not fucking personal. I don't give a fuck personally.
Mhm.
I do think it's a little like, oh well, your frame of reference must be very different from anybody who I would think is like fun to discuss music with. Because like from song to song on this album, like, oh, that's different from this song, and that's different from that, and oh yeah, I like thrash, but that's so atypical of a thrash band. Oh, I like 90s groove-ish metal, like that's very atypical of that. So that's a little strange to me when like music people listen to our album and kind of like, oh, it's just heavy guitars, like, and fine. But they're like, oh yeah, just kind of the same old shit. Like, does everybody listen to other heavy bands expecting to like, I've never fucking heard something like this in my life?
Yeah, right.
And I know it's not the case because like of the records that came out today, it's funny to see some other records be like, oh, and then this fucking rocks and this fucking rocks. It's like, this is just another hardcore record, right? Like, oh, but it's this other record is cool and all, but like it's a fucking hardcore record. I'm like, oh yeah, that's also a pretty cool record. It's your typical metalcore stuff. But I just think it's interesting when we straight up have a fucking bomba song on our album mixed with metal and like, hey, we have a couple of record scratches on our album. We have fucking a vibro slap. We have Spanish. We have so like some odd time signatures and some like ass beating breakdowns, but at the same time, like, hey man, if I ever wrote one song ever in my entire life to please anybody aside from myself, let alone moviepoopshoot.com, like Magnolia Fan 1, God, fucking kill me if that's my intention. So
yeah, right. See the funny thing it's kind of good that you gotta like bring up actual people doing reviews, because I'm not saying like we've got anything special that we do, but I kind of like the way that we do it, because like when we first had you on, you were a brand new band to us, and we've talked about this on the show before. That's kind of like the niche that we decided to go with. So now obviously today being the release day, the new album of yours was the focus, and I made it through the album twice. So, but what I like, what we do, and not trying to speak for Jason, but I'm pretty sure that he and I have gotten to a point where we do this the exact same way. We are not listening to snippets of anything. We are listening to the album from start to finish. And like I say, in my case, more than once. I got through the album twice today, and we've never claimed to be professionals. And sometimes I try to, like, this is just obviously speaking for me. I try to, and I don't know I've never played a musical instrument outside of a trumpet, and I stopped playing that. And I stopped playing that in 6th grade. That's as far as my musical instrument playing career went. So I mean, I don't know. So I don't know every single musical vocabulary word. I don't know every single piece of jargon to put in a review, and even listening to metal as long as I have, I don't know every single, so I try to be as thorough as I can. Being an amateur music reviewer, I'm just a fan. That's all we're just fans. And, but I am going to make sure that I do a review that is as thorough as I possibly can. And I feel like we would be shortchanging like you or anybody that we review, whether or not we have them on the show. I feel like we would be shortchanging them if we did a review and we didn't listen to the whole thing. So to me, I'm kind of like you. I would not taking it personally, but I'm kind of like, I just think it's lazy for people to do that. If you're not listening to the entire, I do. If you're going to review an album and you don't listen to the whole thing, how the hell are you going to be able to put out a fair review? And in the example you gave, I don't know if that's a real fucking website or not. I'm gonna have to look up.
No, that's from.
I was gonna say I wouldn't doubt it was, but you know, for someone to, you know, like you say, listen to maybe like the opening riff verse and then get to the first chorus and be like, yeah, this is this, just like the last one. It's, I mean, like you said, what's your frame of reference? And there is nothing atypical about this album. There is, you know, you guys are a thrash band with hardcore influences, but I mean, and there's thrash guitar solos, you know, there's your hardcore vocal style, and like we talked about, you know, you dabble with some gutturals in there. You have the Burnt Sienna song, which is a departure from the norm for you guys, but I mean, there's a little bit, you know, there's groove and there's hardcore and there's thrash and there's, you know, so there's a lot of twists and turns in this album. And if someone, obviously everyone's entitled to their opinion, of course they are, but it's not a good look if you just say that this is a typical Extinction A.D. album, because it makes you look stupid, really. In my opinion, it makes you look dumb, because if you think this is right, you don't. It's not a good look, because it makes you sound like you haven't listened to anything else that you guys have done. Oh, this is an atypical Extinction A.D. Well, you're full of shit, because it's not.
You know, and well, first off, I obviously agree, but I understand the other point of view where, like, oh, I write reviews, and every Friday I have to listen to 15 records and then write, 600 words about it. Totally get it. And I'm also extremely appreciative that anybody would even, oh, well, I listened to 45 seconds of 3 songs and wrote this thing, so now I can put on a website and tag the band and have a picture of the record. Hey, I totally appreciate all of that. And I'd rather that than not.
Well, sure.
But I guess even at this point, and maybe this is like the thing, is like, I've been doing music for as long as I have, and I've been a music fan and nerd for as long as I have. I kind of almost assume that if someone's going to write reviews, not just for music, but like in heavy music, like, so first off, no one's making any money. The band's not making any money. People writing the reviews aren't making. Nobody on earth has ever made any money except for Elon Musk and fucking Jeff Bezos. So like, I not approaching it from like a music nerd point of view is strange to me. And then also at that point, like, oh, I'm gonna review the new Extinction A.D. record, like, oh, I don't really know much about the band, but listen to it, be like, oh, cool, it's this and the other thing. Like, yeah, I guess it's nothing new. It's just the it's nothing new is strange to me, because would somebody get the new Exodus record and be like, hey, don't get me wrong, Gary Holt shreds, but I mean, it's cool. It's just, it's nothing new. No one's going to say that. You're going to be like, God, Exodus still fucking kills. Oh my God, Testament put out a new record. It sounds like Testament, only their new record. So it's another flawless record, because Testament has never put out a bad record. They just keep getting better and better somehow.
It's not fair.
Well,
it's not fair.
Well, I'm not going to say it's not fair, because that's like a conflict of interest to be like, no, write something bad. I'm not even saying, like, no one's saying anything bad about my band, so it's totally cool. It's just no, it's fine, but it's nothing groundbreaking. It's just such a weird thing to say, because like I said, there are lots of bands that I think are, hey, this is a new album that's good, but I mean, it's another insert genre tag here album. If you're going to go that route. So it's just, that's a little strange, especially if it's like, oh, if somebody calls us either a hardcore band or a thrash metal band. And I get it, this is so much work for someone apparently, but if you've read our lyrics, we are so different than modern hardcore bands, and even more so than modern thrash bands. So like, you know, I would appreciate it if people read the lyrics, but that's not saying reviewers. I mean, anybody on earth. Dude, there was some dude on our Facebook the other day, which is a sentence that starts off like that is like, come on, you don't need to say anything.
Right.
But we just posted like, hey, we have a new record coming out, and then he's like, went real crazy, like, you know, none of these bands are doing anything to change the world. Like the fucking war is coming and blah blah blah. And I was like, just whatever happened to fighting the elite and all this shit. I was like, hey, bro, have you ever read our lyrics? He's like, he straight up wrote something like, lyrics? What the fuck the lyrics do? Nobody cares about songs. What we need to be doing is like this, that, and the other thing. And it was like, what is going on? Especially from a band that like we get shit from people sometimes because it's like, shut up and play instead of talking about civil rights. Like, okay, so out of all bands on earth, for someone to come at and be like, you guys aren't like spreading the word of like the oncoming storm, I was like, oh,
It's
okay.
Sounds like a guy that's going to get shot in about 3 days from a presidential assassination.
Yeah.
He sounds like somebody who would, if he would have wrote that, 15 years ago, I probably would have been like, oh man, I'm gonna beat you up. But
that dude probably has a manifesto, but I remember that post. I remember it.
I had a good laugh because first off, I have no intentions of beating up anybody like under any circumstances. I don't want to get into any trouble, and I don't even know if I could beat someone up at this point, but definitely not over anything internet style.
Right.
But I had a laugh, and it actually made me think like, oh, good thing you're not like a stupid little child anymore, because I was a stupid little child like well into my 30s.
Everybody was at some point.
Yeah.
Everybody was.
So it's like funny. I've had people like come at me like that for stuff that I've done in the past. And I'm just like, and I was like, hey man, look, it's like this. If you don't straighten up, I'm gonna tell your mom to cut your Wi-Fi privilege off and change the
password. That's actually more of a threat than physical violence at this point.
The ultimate revenge.
I think it is. Yeah, just revoking your electronics privileges. Yeah, I think it actually is.
We're gonna hide your lotion and your tissues. You
Oh, they'd still find a way. They'd still find a way.
First off, you probably need to know people before you start talking shit to somebody. That'll be like somebody like, I see people on the rocks shit all the time trying to talk shit to them. I'm just like, you know who the fuck you're even talking to? Like, you're talking about Dwayne Johnson that's lived a life of cutting people fucking down. Like, just shut the fuck up and move. You already know he's gonna get your ass. Like,
I appreciate that somebody even acknowledges us enough to like go and say something. So I think it's pretty cool. Like I said, it was interesting, cool. I had a laugh about it, and like I said, I appreciate any attention we get, so long as it's not someone being like, oh my god, you are the worst people on earth, which is like, that is also fine. I just I don't appreciate that.
We had somebody posted. I can't remember if it was on Twitch or where it was at, but I remember somebody posted a comment on there. It's like, hey man, I like your content stuff. Y'all need to do this and do that or whatever. I said, well, hey man, you know what you can do? You can a donate button down there, and we can afford to do that.
Yeah.
Because we're not getting paid for this, dude. Like,
we
sitting Joe Rogan, man. It's
home
talking metals, like.
Yeah, we have said, would we like to have our own studio space with all this, top of the line equipment? Yeah, of course we would. But I mean, we have made from day one, when we were just doing an audio only podcast, we have made no fucking qualms, no bones about the fact that we're not pros at this. We're just a couple of fans getting together, shooting the shit. And thankfully we're to the point now where we've got friends who will come on and talk about their music with us. That's really all we are. That's all we are.
Yeah. What else do you need?
It's like, this is similar to other podcasts where you bring people on and have similar interests. And of course, hopefully the people out there that watching with the similar interests, watch it and then pick up on, it's like, oh, I've never heard of Extinction A.D. And, they're like, oh, go listen to Extinction A.D. And, oh, these guys are badass. And now they go back and buy all 4 of your records, like,
yep.
Win-win for everybody.
Yeah, and then they tell their friends and so on and so on. And hopefully it snowballs for you. Hopefully it snowballs for us. You guys get listeners, we get viewers, and, this whole thing just kind of rolls along.
So the thing that I do, we talk about the Spotify thing. I do hate that, but the thing that I do like is like, even if you do play that, on your vehicle or whatever, and somebody you're not normally riding with, it's like, oh man, who's that? And I'll be like, oh, this is so and so. Like, oh, well, me and Chris do that to each other a lot because he listens to outside of thrash. He goes another way out, and I go a different way. And then he's just like, oh man, I haven't heard them before. They're pretty good. They've been around for a while, and I'll tell them about it or whatever. And then the same way, I'm like, oh man, this band's pretty good, man. I'm not, usually into like the symphonic stuff. This is pretty badass.
Yeah,
since 2012, and oh, okay, cool. So,
yeah, I mean, we're
learning off of each other. So I mean,
that was how this whole thing ended up becoming an idea and why we got it started. And we're still doing it to each other, into our 4th year, still introducing each other to bands, learning about, discovering, quote unquote discovering. I mean, we have not discovered a single band, but we haven't been at a gas station and discovered a band, so we have not discovered. Well, that's always a quote unquote discovered. So I want to make that perfectly clear. We have discovered no new artists, but we've come across bands that we've never heard of before. So I mean, and like I said, we try to do that every week. We try to listen to somebody new every week, to expand our knowledge base and to expand the knowledge base for the metal community, so they can be heard and they can be hopefully they can rise up. And so we're still doing it to each other. And hell, I mean, I was at his house last week, hanging out, by the fire pit, which is where this whole thing, this is where the whole seed got planted. And like even last week, we were listening to something. I was like, who's that? And he was like, so and so. I was like, oh shit, okay. And it doesn't even sound like them, or whatever. Doesn't sound like them, or when did this come out? And so I mean, we're still doing it, even though, like I say, we're doing this week in and week out, and we're just still doing it because it never stops. And we will never catch up. Well, that's the great thing about it. We'll never catch up.
I don't think anybody that even does this for a living, like, has time to listen to everything. I mean, it's just so much out there. It's like, it's almost impossible. Yeah, and that's why you have to pick and choose. And that's one of the reasons I'll create a Spotify list. I'll go down the list and I'll put songs from the upcoming albums out on the Spotify list.
Mm-hmm.
Who can take what they want out of that list and like, oh, I like this, I like this, I like this. Don't care for that. So I mean, you can take and pick and choose what you kind of like want to listen to from that list. It makes it a little easier than having to go through and listen to 10 albums and get to a good one. You know what I mean? It's like you get I mean, if you got that playlist, you get a little bit of a taste of what you're getting. So you're kind of more attracted to listen to the whole album just by the little bit of the playlist. To me, I put together some bangers, man. I ain't even trying to like build myself up, but I put together some bangers, dude. Like I'm just like, man, I would listen to every album on this playlist sometimes.
Yeah.
And I can't. I know I don't have time to do that.
Yeah.
We live 40 hours a week just like everybody else.
Right. Yeah.
Not enough time in the day, but I wish there was. At some point they're just gonna be like, "Hey, man, we're gonna give you this much money, and you can just listen to music all day."
Yeah, you fucking wish.
Yeah. Sign me up. Sign me up. Where do I sign? Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
headphones on all the. I'll sleep with them motherfuckers. I'm listening to shit. I don't care.
Yeah, I will too. Yeah, someone just offers me a bunch of money to listen to music. Billy, now it doesn't come with insurance. I don't give a fuck. My wife's got insurance. She can cover me. I don't give a shit. I don't give a damn. She's got insurance where she works. I'll just be on hers. I don't give a shit. It doesn't matter. I don't care. But yeah,
so I was going to ask. This is kind of a question that pops up. I don't know if we talked too much about it or not, but you brought up Deicide, and that kind of reminds me of something a few weeks ago I've seen where they were talking about they were using AI for their artwork. How do you feel about the bands doing things like that? Do you think it's cool with the artwork, just not the music, or do you think that they need something a little bit more at some point?
Maybe I should only speak for myself or my band.
Sure.
I mean, isn't that not fun?
I mean, to me, it would be.
That's just my way of thinking. Now I know there's two different worlds of AI in art. There's a way to use it as a tool, and there's a way to use it as a crutch or straight up a replacement. In my opinion and my limited experience with seeing other people use them both ways, when it's used as a tool, sometimes you would have no idea unless they tell you how they used it. When it's used as, hey, I put this prompt into a AI thing, website or whatever, and this is what it came out, and then I put my logo on it, well, that's what it looks like. Last for Ruthless Intent, when we were putting the artwork together for that, we might have spoke about this. The artist that we had, Lauren Moran, who did the cover art for that, she was the one who made me aware of maybe a year prior, AI just took a gigantic leap into the art world, and whether or not you think I'm crazy or whatever, as artists, we need to stand against this now. Otherwise, we're going to be fucked. And so quick, AI got everywhere. Now, the most egregious use of it, in my opinion, was the intro to the Secret Invasion Marvel show on Disney. I don't know if you guys give a fuck. It looks very AI. Now, if you hear Disney's Variety article, interview, whatever, it's about aliens. We want it to look very alien, blah, blah, blah. We had humans working with the AI, whatever the fuck. But then, the fucking, after the actors strike ended, the CGI unions, all that shit, were about to go on strike, and a lot of before they went on strike, a lot of the amendments or whatever the fuck are very AI based. How much you can and cannot use AI, how much Disney can or cannot use AI because of their artists and other companies and blah blah blah. Anyway, I was very, very much, I want to make sure that not only do we have a human do this art piece, which even when we came up with the idea, we want to do something very 70s exploitation movie looking. One of our other buddies, we brought up that idea, and I was looking around for artists. He goes, "You could just straight up put that into AI and they'll do it." I said, "Fucking no, that's exactly what we're trying not to do." Mm-hmm. So I was like, "Oh, who made me wear this?" Lauren, a friend of mine, and blah, blah, blah. We did that whole shit. And it was like, I'm so fucking glad that not only did we wind up with the most rad artwork ever, but a human was able to make this money doing something artistic that worked with our artistic vision and vice versa. So to me, that kind of seems like that is, as an artist, musically or beyond, I feel like the fun of it is creating that art from scratch and coming up with your own thing. So that's just my point of view. Like I said, I know AI can be used, let's say in like a fine art way, as a tool as opposed to a crutch where, hey, I want to do this painting. I want to use a reference because most painters and fine artists use references.
Mhm.
But instead of in 2024 going on Google and looking for some generic thing, or like going to a library and looking for like a reference in a book, which is fucking almost impossible. I don't know if you guys have gone to a library lately, but you know what they have very little of in public libraries? Fucking books.
Books, yeah.
It is crazy. So when we were doing the artwork for this album, we knew what we were going for. I was like, you know what will be fun? Going to the library and going through all these like specific, types of books, looking for reference images, because I had done that in the past. And like, it's one of those things that's like fun. It was fun to me, like even in the 90s and the early 2000s, like I had this artwork concept. I'm going to go to the library and spend like 4 or 5 hours there looking through these, history books, like graphic history books, not just fully text, and art books, and oh, that's cool, and that's cool, and that's cool. I'm going to take a couple of these references and then make my own thing, whether it's drawing, painting, or Photoshop and manipulation, yada yada. I was like, oh, that would be fun to do that for this, dude. I swear, man, there was like maybe like say 12 shelves of books, which like in a house, that's a lot. In a library, like, wait, there should be like 50 or 70 shelves of books.
Right, yeah.
Like tangent. We wound up working with another artist, Alex Haber, who was unbelievable. We knew we wanted to do something painted, but also collage, to kind of
look at it since you're bringing it up.
blam. And it was like, oh, this dude specializes in painting and collage, he's like gritty and I don't want to say indescript, but like you know what you're looking at, and you also have no idea. My point of view, you also have no idea what the fuck you're looking at. It's kind of dark, and it's kind of fucked up, and it's kind of beautiful. So we gave him our idea after I was like, yo, I went to the library and books don't fucking exist. He does this. He's like, yo, send me your album, send me some lyrics and, the title, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to do some shit. And I said, okay, we kind of would like to incorporate this, that, and the other thing. We absolutely don't want to incorporate this thing and that thing and this thing. He said, okay, cool. And he did, 15 pieces, maybe. I believe, don't quote me, but I think they might all be on 8x8 canvas. And there were like, once we decided on a direction, we had so many specific pieces to choose from, but it's like, yo, that's the fucking cover. Yo, that's the back cover. He's like, all right, cool. And he's like, do you have any use for these other pieces? I was like, well, they're your pieces. Do you want to use them for someone else or sell them? He's like, I mean, we agreed on a price. I paid him a couple of bucks. He was like, well worth the money that we paid him, and he busted his ass really hard in a short amount of time, which was just like unbelievable. And we wound up using other pieces that were not the album cover for single covers, because Epidemic and Impervious are both, if you go on Spotify, the singles. They're similar artwork, but they're different pieces. And it was like, yo, this is like fucking fantastic. You know, we were hoping for like a front cover and a back cover, and then, you know, I'll manipulate it and do the rest of the layout. And I was like, I have all this fucking artwork to choose from that was like, to varying extents, like, dude, this is exactly what the record sounds like. Like, I could almost piece together certain parts of this cover and be like, ooh, this bottom corner, that's this song. And then this top corner, that's that song. And it's not like, like, oh, well, this lyric is specifically this image, but like I see all the song in this cover. So long story short, we couldn't have fucking done this with AI, and I'm glad that we didn't. You know, it's a gratifying experience. Ray Mart, the engineer that we did the record with. I was with him in the studio maybe about 2 weeks ago doing something else. He's like, yo, have you heard of this AI app? I was like, no. He's like, he had told me that another band had come to record with him, and they were showing him the app, saying that they write their songs with this AI app as like their writing partner. And he was like, hey, whatever, I'm doing my job here. But he was like, you could straight up write 90s tech metal tuned in fucking C standard with a female vocalist. You type that in, press fucking compute, and it gives you 2 complete songs to choose from, and you listen to them, and they sound like, you know, quote unquote real bands. And it's like good for a laugh, but like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, so I'm like, yo, that's a bummer. He's like, not only is that like, I don't care what this band does, I'm recording them, they're paying me. He's like, but the reason that this has gotten so advanced is, and he made this analogy, which I thought was fucking brilliant. Do you remember back in the day when you first got Netflix? It had tons of major movies and a bunch of TV shows that we're all similar ages, that we probably loved from the 80s, 90s, 2000s, that like, oh, now we can binge. And then eventually, like, Netflix has their own show. Like, what the fuck is this? And you watch that show, you're like, this is the most insane show ever. This is top tier. Like fucking Stranger Things and shit like that. Little by little, they phase out Ghostbusters and Blade 2 and whatever. And now everything on Netflix is like Netflix original. It's not special anymore. And a lot of this stuff no one's going to watch, no one's ever heard of, and the quality is fucking garbage. Like, why the fuck are they doing this? Because they're charging an higher and higher, like incremental as the months go by, fee for their own stuff that, like, all right, they're funding their own projects, but they're not paying Paramount for Star Trek anymore. You know, they're not paying Marvel and Disney for, you know, Winter Soldier, Captain America 2. So he's like, it's the same thing. Like Spotify and Apple and whatever the fuck, they're going to start flooding their services with these AI bands. They're going to create pseudo images of these bands and bios and stuff, and people aren't going to fucking know the difference because they're conditioned to, like, little by little, they're not going to know the difference of humans playing music that you have to, even by Spotify means, like, well, Extinction AD is making like 0.00003 cents a year from Spotify. But, like, you know, I don't know who like the fucking metal equivalent of Taylor Swift would be at this point, you know, but dude, let's even just fucking go crazy. Let's say Metallica. Metallica is making quite a bit of money from Spotify. if they could create a band, say in 2025, and have the internet do what the internet does, by 2028, some AI fictional band that Spotify created could be as big as fucking Metallica. And where's all that money going? Fucking nowhere. Right back to Spotify. Anyway, long story short, AI could be a decent tool if used properly by a human with a brain. Such a detriment when used as laziness, as well as it is saying it's okay to implement AI more and more and more and more. Because, like, do I think iRobot is going to happen? I don't really think so. And also, like, AI in a Android body is different. Like, I like robots, but AI that exists, like, in fucking cyberspace to play music. Oh my god, what are you guys doing? And I'm not saying Detested making an AI album cover means all of a sudden, no one's going to be allowed to play music anymore and no one's going to care. But maybe as, like, accomplished musicians like Detested is fucking as accomplished as it gets, maybe just don't put it out into the world that we're fine with this. Now, I know there's more to it with them, with their album cover. It's been, like, exhausted to death about that. And, like, so, like, and I don't fault them. I know where they're coming from, or I understand where they're coming from. I don't even want to use the word no. I don't know anyone in that band, and they would never know that I exist. So I get it. It's not for me. I will openly embrace AI when it's like a fucking I don't know if you guys ever watched Star Trek: The Next Generation, but
yes.
I love Data.
Yep.
Fucking rocks. Like, if I could find some sentient androids to play music with that, like, I don't have to worry about everyone else's real human lives, I'd be in heaven. Yeah.
But even in that example, Data didn't know how to play music. He wasn't just a plug and play. I know how to play all music. So he even had to learn. So even in that example, he's probably the closest thing you would be able to get to, like, one of us joining your band. Like, all right, I got to learn how to play if I knew how to play, a musical instrument. So Data still had to learn, of course, all along his journey of wanting to be more human. But before we turn this into a sci-fi show,
man, I love Star Trek,
dude.
I do too.
The thing is that would, that whole, like, complex, AI stuff has to be, like, automatically coded too, because there's no way in hell you got 50,000 people out here coding what could happen if somebody put this in. Like, it's like to me, it's like an automatic coding device too, which to me puts a lot of people out of work that way too.
Yeah,
coders are pretty much needed for damn near everything you do on the web. So for like I said, AI's good for people like me that can't play an instrument, and I wrote songs, like, lyrically, but I never was in a band. I just like writing lyrics and poems and stuff like that. So to me, like, if I wanted to plug this in, all my lyrics in, like, I wonder what this would sound like. Boom, cool. Would I go and, like, try to make money off of it? No, because to me, I feel like if you're going to do that, then you're going to have fans that's going to want to see you live. Okay, well, when they see me live, I'm just going to be up there like Millie fucking Vanilli, because I don't have any time.
Yeah.
But even so, your example, I think that was using it as a tool and using that for your enjoyment. And I think that's great. Again, like, Star Trek. Guess what's so fun? A holodeck. I wish I had a holodeck. A holodeck that's AI. So, like, that is a fun tool. But I mean, the human experience is the human experience, and, like, music is fun. It's all these things, but, like, it's expressive, and AI cannot be expressive yet.
Yeah, it's genuine, and It's real. It's a real fucking thing. And like you said, Deicide, just not trying to harp on Deicide, but Deicide's like, yeah, we did an album cover using AI. What's the big deal? And that's the mess. For me, that's what scares me is right now it's, hey, we did an album cover. What's the big deal? Everything.
What's the big deal? That's the problem.
Right. That's what I'm saying. The problem is the sentiment of what's the big deal. What's the big deal is it could take over a lot of things. And like Jason said, could put a lot of people out of business. Like you said, one day there could be like, there's even hell. I'd have to look it up, but there's a band that I listened to last year, I think. And it's not AI, but I don't think it's AI anyway. I think that the name of the band is called The Shredders, but there's no humans in the band. And I don't think it's AI per se. I'd have to go back and look because it might be. But at the same time, they're not trying to play it off like this is a band playing music made by humans. So
like Chuck E. Cheese animatronic.
kind of sort of. But and there's a story that I've read in the last couple of weeks, and it's by, I can't remember the fucking name of the guy. All I know is I don't like him because he said something about, this is completely not on topic, but this same guy said something about, no, some dude from the Porcupine Tree. That's who it was. I can't remember his name, but he was in the Porcupine Tree. And a little while back, he said something. He's like, I don't get shredding. It doesn't take any talent to shred. I'm like, you're full of shit for one. But anyway, so whenever I heard him say that, I'm like, well, you're dumb.
Because he can't do it.
Yeah. So when when he's like, I don't think it's really a talent to be able to shred. And I was like, you're an idiot. And I don't like you. So, but anyway, that same guy over the last couple of weeks said that he heard something that was supposed to be him. And he swore that when he heard it, he thought he actually sung it because he couldn't tell the difference.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's your danger right there.
Yeah.
Like you said, somebody coming out wanting to create the next best thing, come to find out that the next best thing isn't even real. So what's the big deal is not really a sentiment to have, whether it's right now, next year, 5 years from now, or 10 years from now. So I think it all needs to be as real, as close to 100% of the time as it possibly can be. I do agree with you, Rick, that it's okay to be used as a tool. Like in Jason's example, we actually had Ari from the Reality Machine on a little while back, and he said that he used, when he was creating his EP, he used it as a tool for him to be able to know what the music was going to sound like. But when it came time to put the rubber to the road, humans made the music.
Yeah. So
that's fine, but even that to me is a slippery slope. But one thing that I do like is, I don't know if you've heard of Encyclopedia Metalheads, if I can even fucking say it right.
Yeah. Yep.
But they were like, we will not put any AI music in our directory. And I think I was 100% for that. It's good.
There's already been some absolutely. There's already been some labels that said that we won't record anything that, if it's AI, we're not recording.
And good.
Yeah.
Good. Because we shouldn't.
Yeah.
I don't think we should.
It sets a bad precedent. That's what it comes down to. Like you said, the slippery slope and all that stuff. Because, and I mean, I don't want to get too deep, but like, a lot of things like, all right, well, this we know that this could lead to something bad, but it's not a big deal now. The world outside of even this conversation could learn from that. So setting bad precedents is like, when you know better, is just not the best idea.
Yeah, and we as humans don't exactly have the best track record of going, you know what, maybe we shouldn't do X, Y, and Z. No,
and it's hard with technology because I mean technology is kind of like part of human evolution. It's unavoidable. But you know, he's got to learn how to deal with it properly, and sometimes you need to use the evolution that your brain has, you know, been the benefactor or benefactress of, and put it to good use. And it's too easy for people to avoid that sometimes.
Yeah, we oftentimes don't know where the line is, and even if we find it, we're not like, we shouldn't cross this, because there's always somebody who's just got to. Someone's got to be that person who's like, fuck that line. Exactly. Somebody always does it.
It's like that line in Jurassic Park.
That's exactly what I was thinking of. Yeah, exactly what I was thinking of. All you worried about was whether you could, not whether.
You never thought about whether you should.
Yeah, that's yeah.
So
that exact line.
It's funny that I say that on a regular basis, because what I do as a job, a lot of times the site tells me, "Oh, well, we have this many people." I'm like, then what you got? Just because you got them, don't mean you should use them. I mean, that's like,
yeah.
I mean, put them doing something else, because we don't need them. Like,
yeah.
And there's like, oh, well, we've got them. Well, like I said, because you could, that means you should. So,
now,
like I had a post that I commented on today that kind of relates to this a little bit, because they were talking about something totally different. I'm not going to get into the post because it'll veer off into something totally non-metal. But but anyway, they was asking, and people were arguing with each other on there, and I'm like, I said, I'm going to say this as somebody that's been in the healthcare field and relatable to what you're talking about. Compliance is going to be the death of this country, because you're complying with shit that you don't even know what the fuck you're complying to. Right? And it's sad that people are like that, man. It's like, we grew up in a rebellious era, like, I think, as far as like all of us. I don't know
all of our.
I know Chris got a little gray right there, so I mean, I know he's probably
I'm only 3 years behind you, man. So I mean, it's just, I'm Gen X, just like you are. So
probably all at least 40. So I mean,
oh yeah, dude, I turned 44 in 3 days.
Yeah, so there you go. So it's like, well, happy early birthday to you.
I was about to say 8/19, Rick Jimenez. I'm writing that down. Yeah.
but anyway, it's just like, we grew up in an era where that metal and rock was made to be a form of retaliation, rebellion, and people are just like, oh, well, you shouldn't write about it. Motherfucker, what do you think this music genre is about? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like,
that's interesting, and I agree. The first song on the new record is called "A Desperate Grasp," and there's even a line in the song, "Can't escape sins of the past. Regression as rebellion is a desperate grasp." So where I'm from, at least, I liked it. The New York I grew up in is supposedly, integrated, lots of different types of people, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't always like that in my specific area that I grew up in, but it was always, that's what I figured New York was. And New York is, in my opinion, supposed to be open-minded and enlightened and accepting of differences and celebratory of differences. And, like, you guys grew up in a very Reagan and then Bush 1 era, which is a very, hey, let's kind of, it's the 80s and the early 90s. Let's pretend like it's the 50s, which is like, all right. The 90s are a little different. Like, hey, you know what? There's gay people in the world and they're on TV and that's okay. Like, yes. And there's, hey, guess what? Black people can be leaders of society also, and that's okay. Like, well, yes, obviously. So New York has always been very open in that way. And New York has become, over the past 10 years, very not that again, which things are cyclical, and people are different, and whether or not I think they're fucking crazy or not is a different thing. What I find absolutely like unforgivable is people that came up the same way I came up, not just in like regular life, but through punk and hardcore and metal. And they took all of the rebellion from that, but none of the revolution with that. So it became, oh, wait a minute. I was like involved in, speaking of somebody else, I was also involved in punk and hardcore and everything. And some of the things that I was all for and was fighting for in our scenes and music have actually made it into the mainstream a bit more. Oh, wait a minute. I was all for it, but now it's part of the mainstream a little bit. Now I hate that stuff because I have to be against anything that has made it into the public consciousness. So I'm like, oh, wait a minute. So you were all about inclusion of races and sexual orientations and genders and classes. But now that awareness has infiltrated the mainstream a little bit, where like, it's not crazy to go to a major fucking Disney movie and the lead character may be queer, and that has nothing to do with the plot of the movie. It just happens to be how that character is. You have to go the exact opposite and be like, oh my God, I can't believe this shit. America's falling apart. Like, back in my day, blah, blah, blah. So the just rebellion for the sake of it. So change it, almost like quote unquote changing sides, to me, like, what the fuck? And I straight up know a few people that I've had the conversation with that, like, if being punk rock is thinking progressively, then it's not punk anymore because the mainstream is being progressive. So now I'm going to be conservative, and that makes me so like fucking punk and so edgelord and so like fucking just like what the fuck is the word I'm looking for? Like so edgy, but just like, you're taking weird backwards values from the 50s and claiming that is being super on the edge in 2024. Like, you're clinging to like, well, you know what? If you're a man, you get married to a woman and have 3 kids at 21. Like, what the fuck is all this other shit? Like, oh, well, I know people think that. Like, yeah, like I'm the real punk. Like, that's fucking crazy to me. I know the way I described that was just like the most convoluted way on earth. But so that is something that it comes up on the record, but especially that first song, and it's really strange the way rebellion can be repackaged into this like super small square of what I think is just utter, I didn't want to say normalcy, but just very like 50s nuclear type of way of thinking. Where something that like I felt strongly about my entire life of like, hey, race, who gives a fuck? Gender, who gives a fuck? Sexual orientation, who gives a... None of that stuff, like, I don't want... Not that it doesn't matter, but like, yes, it's all cool because every person has a right to exist. Mm-hmm. So the fact that was so like, ooh, that's so like taboo in the 80s and a little less, but still in the 90s. And then, the late 90s, early 2000s, the whole like Limp Bizkit Eminem era, like, oh, let's just be super homophobic all the time. Like, why are we taking a step back? But like now, like, like I said, being queer doesn't matter. Being transgender is very, very, iffy nowadays, but like it's making its way into the mainstream, and like drag queens are part of the mainstream because it's a form of self-expression. Hey, who gives a fuck? All that stuff that was taboo and underground that isn't underground now. I celebrate that that's not underground, because I feel like maybe my one voice as part of a small army back then made it so it could be a large army now. So just because that stuff has made it into the mainstream, I don't turn against it. And I think turning against stuff like that is so strange if you believed in it prior. If you didn't believe in it prior, I'm not going to be like, well, good for you. But I mean, the consistency there is like, well, hey, now I know where I stand with somebody and who I would or would not want to associate, somebody who I wouldn't or would want to associate with. But the regression as rebellion is really, really strange to me. That's a real fucking weird, twisted kind of modern phenomenon.
Well, there are some people who like just can't help but be the contrarian, So, there are people who are you're just never gonna please, no matter like what movement is coming along or what policies are in place or whatever. There's some people who just aren't happy unless they're just like being the contrarian, in the minority, and just being loud for the sake of being loud.
If I could have worded it over the past 15 minutes as well as you did right now, we could have had 15 minutes of our life back. Yes, some people just need to be the contrarian no matter what.
Yeah, so
there it is. Thank you.
No, it's totally fine. So since since that was kind of like the whole idea behind Desperate Grasp, was any of that the impetus for the very next song, which was Escape from New York? Because you're talking about okay,
which is crazy because, like I said, New York has gotten really intolerant and really, really like, oh man, I thought it was strange, like being brown and mixed and having a fucking Z at the end of my name in the 80s and the 90s. Like some of these areas that like I grew up in, like I straight up like I'm on guard when I go to some of these areas, and they're not like rough neighborhoods, but it's like I don't trust this guy. I don't trust that guy. This guy has signs on his house that are inherently making me or telling me, yo, you're not welcome in this neighborhood, which is like, it makes me feel fucking really strange. I don't have fear about it, but it definitely makes me like, might get me up in arms. So it would make sense if that's what Escape from New York was about. But I could say that's about two specific things that I will sum up very, very quick because I just take too long to do everything. First off, an encounter with an old timey promoter in New York City who thought he was going to get away with some stuff, and he did not get away with some stuff, as well as the older guard of, whether in music or not, of New Yorkers that have this fantasy of what New York used to be, and they glorify what New York used to be, the fucking taxi driver version of New York.
Oh,
and
yeah.
But are now consumed with talking about, oh my God, New York is falling apart because of A, B, C, and D. And obviously those A, B, C, and Ds are like, dude, I know, just come out and say what you're trying to say. And we all know we all may or may not know with you. But anyway, glorifying something and then being afraid of something that they glorified, even though it's not even that. Oh my God, New York used to be rough. It used to be filled with drug dealers and porno theaters. Oh, it was so great back then. And now they're complaining when New York is like fucking Disneyland now. And these same people are complaining, oh my God, there's so much crime in New York. And you know who's causing this crime? It's this marginalized person, and fucking bring up the wall. Hey, asshole. It's crazy, man. It's fucking crazy. Like, I was 11 the first time I went into Manhattan. 11.
Mhm.
So, like, I was already old for somebody who was born and raised in New York. And my assumptions about what, quote unquote, New York City was, when I was like, ooh, I hope I don't get fucking kidnapped or robbed or something.
Yeah, right.
And so when I started going into New York City when I was 11, like, oh, there's more people here. And then, I went to shows and played shows in New York City all throughout the 90s. And then, the 2000s and like the ultra gentrification started taking place in the 2000s. So it was like, oh yeah, it's a bummer what New York's becoming, because it was kind of cool in the 90s. And even in the 90s, it wasn't what it was in the 80s, and what I assume, and from like knowing my history and watching television and documentaries and all this shit, what it was in the 70s. And people who glorify that time and complain about what New York used to be, and now they're consumed with how dangerous it is now and like the shithole it's become. Like, dude, get the fuck out of here. There's worse spots on Long Island than there is in New York City. Dude, last time we spoke, I was still living in Connecticut. There's more spots in Connecticut than there are in New York City. So anyway, the whole I can't deal with the fucking fucking New York, The Godfather. Hey, that accent is fake. It's fucking made up. Nobody from New York is Italian. They are at close fourth generation European mutts. Get over it, brother. Like, so that whole fantasy drives me crazy. And it's funny because like I grew up like buying into that shit and thinking that like that's sick. And I love The Godfather and I love Taxi Driver, and I love what the fuck is that graffiti movie? Did you say American Graffiti? Style Wars. Great movie. But dude, it's over. Like New York isn't what it used to be, and that's fine. Things change. Gentrification, not fine. But like, fuck. Like
the thing that upset me about the song "Escape from New York" was no mention of Snake Plissken whatsoever.
Dude, so it's so funny because I knew I wanted to write a song with this topic, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, yo, I'm going to take the fucking title of the movie, and I'm not going to reference the movie, but that's my reference. And one of my best friends on earth is like a huge horror and genre film fan, and I don't think we've actually talked about this title yet, but it was like, oh, I know he'll get a kick out of it. And then at that point I was like, oh, I'm gonna fucking straight up throw it into the lyrics.
So I'll say this: like I had a guy that was from New York, moved here to Tennessee, and we was working at one of the car manufacturer plants here in Tennessee at the time. I was young; I was like 5 or 6 or something. But he was a Hispanic guy. He came down and whatever, and he told me, he said, "Dude, when I first got here, he said some dude went to shake my hand, and I was about to cock that some bitch." Hey, hold up! I mean, in New York, you reach for somebody, you like reaching for my pocket or something, a wallet or something. Like, what the fuck? I was just like, really? And he was just like, well, yeah, man, because that's like the stereotype there.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's reaching for you. They're like trying to harm you or whatever. I'm just like, what the fuck? He's like, yeah, man. If you ever go and walk the streets of New York City, people are just walking. They're not even saying hi to each other. Nothing.
Oh yeah.
Like, not that they're like asshole people or anything. They're just, it's just busy. I guess.
Yeah. And like I said, back in the day, it was a rough area, and a lot of these people who either actually did grow up through that in New York or observed it on the peripheral, living on Long Island and going into New York for shows and to play shows, and then eventually adopted the New York City tag as, oh, I'm from New York City and I did this and that. Like, hey, there's nothing wrong with telling great stories. That's
true.
Great stories are very entertaining, but to take that on as your personality when it's a bit of a fallacy or a stretch, and to tell the same stories so many times that you start believing them, and then, oh, I come from this, which even all that, hey, fine. But then to turn against that and talk about this area now as if it's that, and you loved it back then, but now you hate it. It's strange, it's kind of like a crossfade of reality. And that is so off-putting. And I just, I'm too old to fucking buy into fantasy unless I'm buying a comic book.
Right. Yeah. Time and a place.
What would be the area of New York that would be like kind of country and just like, hey, just don't come out here and fuck with us. We don't care. Is there like a place in New York kind of like that? Or?
That's like country. I mean, New York is huge.
Yeah.
Like once you get
every city's not New York City. That's what I'm saying. Like,
I mean, yeah, New York City is huge. Yeah, New York, because we have Long Island, which is huge, and almost all of Long Island, if not all, is just suburban. Different levels of suburban. There's rural-ish areas, and out east we got farms and stuff, and out west we have more kind of dumpy areas. But then New York City's huge. Queens, Brooklyn, Staten Island, the Bronx, Manhattan. Manhattan, is a fucking gigantic island.
Yeah.
North of that, you have Westchester County, which is essentially, the greater part of New York City. It's the bottom of New York State, the bottom part. And I mean, Westchester's kind of like Long Island, where it's, you have your city-ish, but barely. But then, suburban and stuff. But, you go 35 minutes north of New York City, and then you have lots and lots and lots of New York, and it's all, aside from little tiny pockets like Albany and Poughkeepsie, it's
Canada probably.
It's like suburban or straight up rural, and a lot of those areas were always kind of like hillbilly-ish, but that has made it to Long Island. Long Island has become very, very redneck and very like country culture embracing, which from my point of view is like very disturbing, because it's not the, oh, country culture, let's like be part of like agriculture and let's have a farm, and well, I'm wearing a fucking full brimmed hat because I'm outside working. It's not that. It's like all the negative connotations of what somebody says when like, ooh, typical like hillbilly bullshit. Like, all right, so you live on Long Island, so you have to have like a certain amount of money because it's way too expensive for like someone to live out here. And you have an office job, but you're driving a gigantic pickup truck. So you're just guzzling gas and all this stuff. You're not using the fucking bed of your pickup truck. You have some strange racist stickers on the back of your pickup truck, along with Long Island redneck. Like, what is going on? You work at a fucking office, man. Like, you work in an office that makes luxury furniture. So, like, this whole thing is so strange to me. It's like, oh, like, you have a real problem with African-American people and rap music, but you love country music, which is like the mixture of rock and hip hop, only you have like somebody with some like pseudo twang in their voice. Like, what on earth is going on? Why am I on Long Island? I go into a bagel store and I'm hearing country music. It's fucked up. It's real fucked up.
it's and I kind of asked that because I like here in Tennessee we can kind of people think a lot of things down south too, and it's not the way a lot of people portray us. It's like Nashville is a city, like it's the happening city and close to us or whatever, but we try to stay the fuck away from it.
Yeah, because it's
fucking be there. Like I have to drive to the office twice a week, for my job, and I'm just like I fucking hate driving this.
Yeah, it's
a 50-mile drive that takes me an hour and a fucking half, which should never take.
No,
because, and this is the thing that I hate about, and I don't want to get too political, but I hate about things like that is they bring in all these fucking people and they never create any infrastructure to maintain these people.
No, they didn't.
They don't do anything to the roads. They don't do anything with building up any areas where these people are moving into or anything like that. Like, it's just like, okay, we're just going to put you up in this shack and fuck off. We don't care. You're paying us. You're paying us tax money. We don't give a shit.
Well, that's what it is. Like there's a whole bunch of cities that have gone through this. Like it happened in Brooklyn in the, I guess, early 2000s, where like everybody on Earth moved to Brooklyn. I feel like Atlanta had a little bit of that for a while. Like Nashville's been on that for like I feel like a really long time now. Like people are just influx of people from all over the country moving to Nashville and adapting or adopting what they think Nashville culture is. So the same thing like somebody from the Midwest in the 2000s moving to Brooklyn and then like kind of that Brooklyn hipster thing. And then, somebody from Brooklyn moves to Nashville and they bring that point of view, but like, but look, I'm wearing cowboy boots and like a fringy jacket. Like,
it's funny you brought it up because like most of the people I work with came from Arizona here to open what I do.
Mm-hmm.
They opened the job market for what I'm doing with Amazon right now. So they all came from Arizona. So when they got here, they were just like, yeah, man, we're seeing all these like girls around there with like short shorts and cowboy boots and cowboy hats. And was like,
yeah, they're tourists
around here. It's like not from Nashville.
No, they're all tourists.
They're not from here. They think that's what they're supposed to look like when they come here. And we're just like, what are you guys doing?
And I'm all for getting into the spirit of something. Hey, we're going to celebrate whatever, and this is the theme. Let's have a good time. But adopting a pseudo culture is a little, I don't know, it's just a little strange to me. Like to each their own. Just me personally, a little strange.
My wife actually had a cousin of hers like years ago. Before we ever got together, they were still in high school. But she came to visit from Wisconsin for the first time, and she was like, "Oh wow, you guys do have shoes." No, pavement's hot, right? Like, we're not barefoot.
Yeah. Well, hell, I mean, even the dirt gets hot when it's 100 degrees outside. So, I mean, so even if it was in, I'm not originally from here either. So I mean, but I mean, I never had any of those preconceived notions because I mean, I moved basically from one city to another city. So, I mean, I didn't have any of those preconceived notions. And of course, I've been down here in Tennessee for 30 years now. So, but so even I know it's like Nashville is way too crowded, and then like Jason said, all those people with like, all those chicks with their cowboy boots and short shorts on. Yeah. Or like you said, Rick. Yeah. Those are all tourists. Yeah. So they're just in town for the weekend for a bachelorette party or cowgirl cosplay. That's really all it is.
And good for them. I mean, everybody should have fun. But
well, they do.
While we're on the subject though, we've had you on this goddamn show 3 times, and your fucking ass still have not come to Nashville.
Oh my God! When was the last time we were in Nashville?
I don't know, but it needs to be soon.
I'm going to check my document here.
I was about to say. There hopefully was not a time that you were here and we missed
it. Yeah, like that would suck.
I just did a search. Oh my God. Well, that's the first. Okay, so we were in Nashville. What year is this?
24.
I'm looking at. That's not even the right document.
Hell, I had to think about it for a minute. I was like, shit. It's like, fuck, what year is this? I had to fucking think about it too.
I have a document with like all our shows that we've ever played.
Oh, that's cool.
I hope I didn't delete it.
And speaking of which, I mean, there since you brought it up, there's going to be more shows added to that list. So, yeah. You guys got more coming up.
We are finally going back out on a tour, which I mean, like I said, it's not like we don't tour. Everybody I've spoken to lately, I've worded this as if like, oh, I guess we don't really play so much anymore, which is like, after all these years, I'm still kind of programmed that, oh yeah, I go on tour 9 months out of the year. And like, oh, well, that's just not the reality anymore. Like, I don't fucking think anybody goes on tour 9 months out of the year anymore.
No.
That's what we were talking about a while back. Because we actually did a tour announcement, and it was going from May to October. And I said, well, that's a fucking tour.
Yeah, see, that's a tour. So
now it's like, oh well, Fear Factory's going on tour, and it's from May to June. I'm like, oh, it's not a fucking tour. It's just going out for a couple months.
Yeah. But we hit it so hard in 2022, and then we're chilled out a little in 2023. Then wound up hitting it hard again towards the middle of the year, especially with that European tour. But then we purposely chilled out this year, like I was saying before. Like, oh, we'll play a couple shows in January, do some shit in May and June. We'll do some stuff after the record comes out, because we were supposed to go back to Europe this summer with Extinction A.D. and This Is Hell in 2 different tours. And one never came to fruition, and then one wound up getting canceled. So it was kind of like, oh, we're just at this point, I was like, fuck, we haven't done anything. But yeah, we have this tour coming up to support the record, which starts August 30th in Rhode Island. Mm-hmm. Then we're doing a RPM Fest in Massachusetts, which we did in 2021, I believe. Either 2019 or 2021, one or the other. It's a lot of fun. 2 or 3 days every year in the woods in Massachusetts. It's just super cool. It's a lot of fun. And then from there, we're meeting up with Assault from Cleveland. I don't know if you know those guys. There's a thrash band that we met on tour years ago. Always stayed in touch. Like, oh, we should do some shit. Just never happened till we were putting this together. We knew we weren't going to be supporting anybody else. So we're like, oh, we'll put together our own tour. I was like, we should finally bring out Assault, and they were busy earlier this year. And they're like, yeah, let's fucking do it. So we're going to meet up with them. We have shows in Rochester, Cleveland, Chicago, Evansville, Pittsburgh. I feel like I'm missing one. Indianapolis. And then we're also doing Full Terror Assault Fest in Southern Illinois, which we did Full Terror Assault in 2021. It was like one of the first shows we played post COVID lockdown. And it's their last year doing it. So we're super excited to be able to play before, they call it quits. And then we're going to finish up at Amityville Music Hall, which is our home venue. And they just had a huge remodel. They were a 200 cap dive bar-ish venue. And they bought out the restaurant next door, expanded to like a 300 plus cap room. Stage is double the size as it was. They added 2 more like big bathrooms, nice merch area. They put a green room upstairs. So the last show of the tour, because it's home, will be our like official record release show. We'll have our records at all these shows. We'll have our CDs at all these shows. Vinyl has not come out on time in 500 years, apparently. It's cool. We're playing some rad shows the entire tour, but we cultivated the home show lineup completely. So it's us, Sworn Enemy, also from New York, Queens band, also half a Long Island band at this point. Overthrow, which is a Long Island hardcore band that I loved in the late 90s, early 2000s. Then they stopped playing and they're back and playing again. So it's like, fuck, so cool to play with them. Assault will still be with us at that point. and then we have a younger, newer death metal band called Sarcasticus from Long Island. So it's going to be a sick show. Hopefully all our friends and family come because, like I said, this venue is 33% bigger than it used to be. So we could use 33% more people than usual. But hopefully, we have, like I said, we have a stacked lineup. We're ultra psyched on this record. The venue just fucking rocks. And we're so excited to get out and play again because at this point, our first show will be, I think, August 30th. That is almost just under 3 months since our last show, which that's a long time for us. So we're like chomping at the bit.
Yes.
Like we're going to be playing some new songs and newer than the ones we even played the last tour. And I'm going to be playing at least one old song that we haven't played, I think, in six years at this point.
Nice.
And the first time live this tour, we're going to be playing the It's Go Time You Asshole theme song, which I think is hilarious. I was like, hey guys, wouldn't it be so funny being that we're doing our YouTube show again if we played the theme song live? They're like, I not really. I was like, well, do you guys mind doing it? It's like 8-second songs. Oh, sure. So we relearned it and played it, and it's like, oh, hey, that's actually a lot of fun. Like,
Play that as the curtain drops.
Yeah. Hey, how are you? We are Extinction AD. Here we go. Play an 8-second song. Thank you. Good night.
Now there's another band that you guys are going to have on this tour, I believe, and they actually just started following us on Instagram, and of course, vice versa. Now I haven't had a chance to dig in to these guys yet. How do you pronounce this? Crada?
Crada.
Okay. Yeah. So I haven't had a chance to like dig into any of their stuff yet, but they actually just started following us over the last couple of days. After I put out the little promo clip that I put together, they actually started following us on Facebook and on Instagram, and I have since reciprocated, but I haven't had a chance to dig into any of their music yet. So kind of looking forward to that too. I don't know anything about them other than they're going to be out there with you guys. So
yeah, I think you guys will like them. And they were, or they are friends of friends who became friends. And when we play upstate New York, and because we're like snobby Long Islanders, anything north of New York City is upstate to us. Sure. We always play either Albany or Buffalo. We tried to stay away from Albany on this run because we almost play Albany too much. And we have a lot of friends in Buffalo, and we get there at most once a year. So like, oh, of course we'll play Buffalo. Could not lock anything down in Buffalo that had any logic to it. But word had gotten out that we were looking for a Buffalo show. So Crada got in touch with us, and they're a Rochester band, which is, up north in New York, but, hour and change maybe away from Buffalo. They're like, we got a venue. We could put the whole show together. Like, just give us the word and we'll make it happen. I said, cool, let's fucking do it. And within hours, flyer, full lineup. Hey, we're good to go whenever you guys are good to go. Fuck, let's do it. So it's cool, and they are an excited bunch of guys. Putting out music, having a good time, playing in bands or playing in their band, playing shows. Promoting their band on the internet, just being fans of music. So I'm super excited to finally be able to play together with those guys.
That'll be cool. I'm definitely going to check some of their stuff out. Like I say, I think they actually just started following us because, like I say, let's see, what is this? This is Friday. So Wednesday I put out the promo thing for the show. So I think they either followed us Wednesday night or yesterday. So like I say, they just started following us. So I haven't had a chance to really dig into much about them other than the fact that I saw that they were going to be on tour with you guys. One thing I wanted to go back to something that you mentioned, and I wanted to get a little clarification on. When we were talking about the album cover, you said something about at one point you had lost all of the files for that.
It's always got to be something, right?
So
it's which was even crazier because, like I said, the majority of the artwork is physical art, fine art.
right.
The original. So what we wound up having is the cover is almost like a second draft.
Mhm.
The first version of the cover, no matter what we did, we couldn't get it print quality.
Okay.
Once we finally maneuvered around it, then all of a sudden, all right, it's good to print. It just did not look proper anymore.
Okay.
And with the deadline of everything going on, when I was putting together all the scanned files and then, the typesetting everything and putting together the whole fucking 12 panel layout on the CD and then the whole 12-inch vinyl layout, which is similar but different.
Mhm.
By the time it was ready to go, it was like, I'm like going on like a pseudo vacation with my wife. So I was like, well, guess I'm bringing my other computer because I have two computers, one that does modern things and then like one that does all graphic design stuff because it doesn't work on my new computer because nothing makes any sense. So we're doing like vacation stuff. We're seeing her friends and then we're seeing her some of her family and all this stuff. And then it's like, all right, we were just out all day. Like, yeah, I'm exhausted or we're exhausted, whatever. She's like, all right, cool. All right, well, you go to sleep. I'm going to spend 12 hours on the computer working on this layout. So I spent like a whole vacation doing all this shit. Everything's good, met the deadline, blah, 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 blah. We didn't find out that some of the files were not working until I think it was right after WrestleMania. So I guess sometime in April, where it's like, even though our deadline was January 1st, it's like, yo, the printing place has all this shit, but it's all fucked up. Like the vinyl, that's what takes the longest. CD is no big deal and whatever.
Mhm.
But the vinyl, like the cover, it was like, yo, we need this. Like they could press the physical record, but that's already in production. The last day they could possibly produce the cardboard sleeve is in like 2 days. So I'm going back and forth with Alex, the artist, and he's like, at that point, he didn't have, I think it was something like he didn't have the original painting or anything anymore. Like at that point, it's fucking canvas. He painted over it.
Sure,
He's an artist. So it's like, fuck. So that's how we wound up with like, oh, we have 13 more pieces to choose from. He's like, and he was like on like a trip. If I remember correctly, I think he like went out of state to go to 2 shows and to get tattooed. And we're like, yo, we're on this fucking deadline with. He's like, yo, I'm actually just turned around. I'm driving home. I'm canceling my trip. I'm going to go home and just bang out all this shit. And it was like fucking insane. So at that point, as I said earlier, he whipped up like 12 or 13 pieces and we, all right, this, that, and the other thing. And we wound up coming up with new cover, which meant new scanning, which meant new back cover, which meant going right back into art. Well, I'm essentially redoing the CD layout and I'm redoing the 12-inch layout. And it was like another frantic Extinction A.D. fuckfest. The craziest thing or the coolest thing, what we have as our rushed second draft destroys what we had in our first draft. Now, when I go back to see like what we used to have, which is what I expand it, like, oh, I can even see now that this doesn't work. It doesn't matter if it's 300 or 600 DPI, which is 300. It's not working. It's not translating. Now, if you take that 300 DPI JPEG and put it into a 12 by 12 fucking record, like this would have been like worse. It would have been more jumbly than the first demo I ever did on not even Microsoft Paint. It was like Microsoft Publisher.
would have been pixelated all the hell and everything else. Yeah.
And not even just pixelated, just like washy, made no sense. So it was like Extinction A.D. fashion, spent so long on one thing and then last minute, like, you know what? Instinct and, drive and passion and just go for it. And it's like, oh, it's like I said, it's kind of how we wrote the record. And it wasn't like we threw whatever together. It's kind of like, just fucking go for it and then tweak it later. And it's like, oh, what we put down, minimal tweaks here and there. And like, there it is.
Always, that's like one of my least favorite parts about the show is having to edit and respond.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, you didn't cut enough down." Reels is really what makes me mad. They're like, "Oh, that's too long." I'm like, "Yeah, but I need all that." Like, I need all that in there. Like,
yeah. Because I mean, at this point, we're putting together smaller clips to put on the social media as kind of like a little bit of a taste to, So,
but it's like you'll have to like. So now I'll have to like go in and like figure out what section I can use. And then it may not even get the gist of the story. You know what I mean? Because it's it can't be but 90 seconds or something.
Yeah.
I'll just extend it to like at least 3 minutes or something. It's like,
I mean, Twitter finally. Yeah, I mean, Twitter finally went up to more than 140 characters, and you can even put a 10-minute video on TikTok now. So, I mean, at some point, I mean, all of these platforms, like, we should probably give them just a little more.
Yeah.
So, I mean, eventually some of these, they kind of come to their senses. But
I was going to say that what I do love about doing these things is kind of like what Chris was talking about. So now we have like new bands following us. We follow those guys. So now we're creating a community out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What we're doing. And I love that because we interviewed 3 people. Was it this year or last year?
What's that?
Oh, that was this year. Well, some of it was this year, but we had a band on last year. Well, this other band seen that interview and sent us, hey, see what you think about this, and send us demos through our email. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So we was, oh man, this is badass. And I was like, hey, y'all want to come? This was crazy because we got. How long did we talk to? Never Fade. Not the last.
I think it was a couple hours we talked to it.
Yeah, we only have one single out. You can just come up with stuff, and that's what I love about the realism of being. Things just like come up, and you kind of, even though you drift off a little bit, you still, kind of, conversating and learning more about the guests.
Yeah.
It's like we don't know New York. We've been to New York, so I mean,
I've never been. Yeah.
And I love that a lot of it's a misconception because, I was about to like, hey, I'm gonna get my 9 on the plane.
No, New York is, in my opinion, New York City is utterly safe. Long Island, most of Long Island is utterly safe. I mean, you might wind up in an argument because people are nasty, but I mean, people are nasty everywhere.
Well, yeah, they kind of can be.
I mean, but it can be no worse than our state because I mean, Memphis is like the number one, worst city with crime and stuff. There is.
Yes. So on a per capita basis, it's pretty close to the top of the list. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of the few, like, they were talking about one of my bosses who went there for work, and he's like, dude, I've never been to one that's like, they meet you at the gate, have to let you in, and then they ask you, like, hey, where are you staying? And they're like, oh, I'm over here. Okay, you're good there. So they were going to make you move. They were going to make you move. Like, you're not staying over there. So I was like, wow, that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
This has always been kind of a bad area. Like I said, you have every state with their bad areas.
They've all.
Well, yes. I mean, in New York, it's almost like, even on Long Island to an extent, it's almost like every town has its good spots and its bad spots. And it's funny that I realize that even more now than I did growing up, because I do delivery for my regular job. So I know, like, when I get my route each morning, say I'm in like Bayshore. All right, well, depending on where I'm at, it might be like beautiful area. It might be just typical suburban area, or it might be in the fucking slums. Now, the slums doesn't always mean like dangerous. It might be like fucking dumpy and smells like rotted wood, and people don't mow their lawns here, and they're hoarders. But there's some other areas where, like, a place like Uniondale. Uniondale is Uniondale and Freeport. They're not really so near each other, but like those are the two areas where like Public Enemy is from.
And Uniondale is where the Islanders play.
Yes. There's some areas of Uniondale that when I have a route there, I'm like, oh, this is great. Like, plenty of room on the road, so I'm like in and out of my delivery truck all day without having to worry about traffic, and it's real nice. It's basic suburban. Then there's other places where it's like any businesses I deliver to, they all have bulletproof glass. And Freeport is the same. Some of it's is like very basic and suburban, and some of it is like some strange bullshit that, like, well, I'm not making eye contact with anybody especially because I'm in a fucking delivery truck, and who knows. But it's funny that Long Island doesn't have that rep at all, and that New York City does. But I mean, on the whole, like I said, Long Island is utterly safe, and New York City is pretty utterly fucking safe.
Growing up, there was like 13 of us around the same age group in our neighborhood, and like we grew up in a time where you just, somebody said something crazy, you just punched them in the mouth. You wasn't no question. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We grew up. It's like it wasn't meant to be like, like now where it's like, oh, well, you mama this and your mama. You said to my mama, you get punched. I ain't saying shit.
Yeah.
The culture of today is you could say anything, and then like it's so hard, and it's just opening a can of worms and another 40-minute conversation. But there's the world is a very strange place filled with like weird dichotomies today.
Yeah.
But see, we grew up like that, and we were like, everybody always said, oh, well, that they're a gang. What are you talking about? Like, we don't commit crimes or anything. It's just like, because we don't take no shit off of you, we're a gang. It's like, what are you talking about? And so
gang of buddies.
Yeah, so we grew up that way for a long time, and then like it was so funny because we did do some mischief shit. Don't get me wrong, but we didn't like go out shooting people and robbing people and shit. That's not what we did.
Yeah, but kids do mischievous stuff, but that's different than malicious, targeted bullshit.
Right, we just do crazy shit, and I look back now, well, what the fuck was wrong with it? You know what I mean? But it's like so funny. Like, I went back to that neighborhood. My mom was still living there, and it was like, I don't know, I've probably been out of the neighborhood 4 or 5 years, and I was just like, man, it's really quiet over here now. She goes, that's because all you fuckers grew up. But that was funny. She said, I always remember that for some reason. Everybody goes, oh, it used to be bad over there. And I was like, man, it used to be bad over here. She goes, yeah, until y'all grew up. Like,
yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, hell, Detroit has gone through the same. I'm not from Detroit. I'm from Ann Arbor, so I'm like from 30 minutes away. So I'm not like one of those. Oh, I'm from Detroit. No, I'm not. But I mean, but I mean, everyone knows the reputation that Detroit has, and obviously there's still a little bit of that goes on. But I mean, used to be when you went downtown, you went during the day, and you watched where you were going. But that whole downtown area has had kind of a renaissance, and all of the sports teams are down there now. The Red Wings, they got their new arena. The Pistons moved from the suburbs, back. So all of the sports teams are downtown. Like all of the the downtown area has been revamped. So I mean, it's safe to go down there now. Detroit's still not perfect, just like any other town. But I mean, it's
we-
one of the you guys were just there, so
in Detroit like 2 weeks ago. Man, everybody was cool, no problems.
Yeah.
Like we did while we were there. We was like, hey man, we're close enough. We need to go see the machine shop in Flint because that's an iconic venue. You know, I just want to at least go there. You know, LA Guns had to be playing. I'm like, okay, I know their shit. We'll go see LA Guns. So we went to see LA Guns there. And then Chris was like, messaged me, like, hey man, just don't hang around when you're done. I'm like, okay.
I told him. I said,
my wife's like, should we like leave early or what? I'm like, no. I don't know.
No, I just said don't. Yeah, I said just don't hang around in Flint after the show. I said just get back on the interstate and head back to town. So
when we were heading back, I said this is why he was saying that, because if you look, all these businesses are boarded up, and like there's there's got to be crime there because there's nowhere to work.
There is.
What do you expect them to do if there's no,
Yep.
So whoever's running Flint right now needs to be trying to bring businesses and jobs into that place to revamp it, because right now there's nothing there. So I mean, if you're the only guy owning a gas station, chances are you're going to get held up 3 times. You know
Flint has needed help for a real long time, I feel like.
Yeah, they have. So unfortunately, it's kind of gotten worse. But yeah, and the messed up thing is like way back, you know, at the start of like GM being, you know, the automotive power that they became, Flint was actually more or less kind of where GM got started, and then to see what the city has turned into now, it's really a shame.
Sad,
so yeah, it's sad. So yeah, when he was up there, he's like, we're going to go to the machine shop. I said, go to the show and then leave.
The hotel was only like 35 minutes away.
So it wasn't far. Well, I want to give a quick shout out to Crata. They are actually watching the show on Instagram. So I want to give a quick shout out to them. So thank you for joining us. So,
nice. Yeah. Psych to play with those guys. It's going to be fun.
We might hook up and have them on the show.
Yeah, we're going to have to
done that, you know, people like, hey, check this out. Show talk about something. Like we're always open to bringing people on.
Absolutely. Of course.
That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to promote some bands. Like honestly, I think you guys have probably one of the biggest followings that, you know, we've probably interviewed, you know, as far as, you know, not really Spotify, but as far as your, you know, Facebook, your socials and stuff. You have
just internet presence altogether. Yeah, I think so.
And you think about, you know, Extinction A.D. And like I said, I know when our very first interview, what did I say? I needed another AD band in my life because Lazarus AD's not around anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Hell yes.
But
hell yes.
And, you know, you guys have not disappointed. So
hell yeah.
I'll carry the Extinction AD flag for as long as you guys are killing it. So
same, absolutely.
Nice.
Absolutely, 100%.
So is there ways to get the new CD?
Yeah, I think the easiest, best way I know is just to go to the uniqueleaderrecords.com. I know they handle everything, even if they're a UK European based label, but if you go there and want to get the CD in America, just links you right to all the American distribution, which I think it just does it in one click regardless. Like, so it's not like, I think it used to be a link to a link to a link because they assumed it was all European, but that's the easiest way to order CD or the vinyl, flags, t-shirts, all the cool shit. Cause we had like the bundles up, which I think there still are stuff bundled, but I mean, they have all of our, well, at least all the Unique Leader Records stuff that we've done, back catalog and everything also. So this is our fourth release with Unique Leader, because we had the 2 EPs and now our second full length with them. But last EP never had any physical. So I mean, we still have the first EP, the physical, still available there. Culture of Violence on CD and vinyl still.
So y'all never had anything printed for Ruthless Intent?
No, we had spoke about it and we're hoping to do another like package deal like we did with Culture and the Chaos CP, but it just didn't come through that way. So hopefully in the future we will. I hate the idea of having something that's digital only forever.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Hopefully,
you guys should
it's
get
still
into somebody. Since you're into comic books, you need somebody to write a comic book to go along with Ruthless Intent.
oh, that would be so sick.
That's a
It
great
would be,
idea.
it'd be so sick. Maybe there's some comic artist and writer watching right now who wants to do something like that. That'd be great. Maybe John Romita Jr. is watching.
I feel like the drunk guy in the mailroom of Elf sometimes. Like, man, I got a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because I've been trying to figure out a way, not just like logistically, but even like cost effective wise and like logically to make like Extinction AD action figures since like the first day of the band. But like,
you could do that because I actually did that. Was looking into doing that as far as wrestling. I wrestled for so long, I never got to the point where I was big enough to do that. And I was like, yeah, but that's still be cool just to have them. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah. And there are ways to do it. It's just so expensive. So if it's like, oh, I'm making a one-off figure as a gift for someone, like, well, of course, $30, $35, it's no problem. But like, yeah, like, oh, I want to make like 20 of each member, and I want to, spend like $8 on them so we could sell them for 10, and like, oh, it's just cool that we had action figures. But hasn't happened yet. I'll figure out a way eventually. I fucking hope, but
I wanted to get your opinion since you're in the music business. And kind of feel like, because I always like see these stories and I'll never get to like ask anybody, say, hey, what do you think is going on here? And like, I don't know if you followed it or not, but Mark Osegueda, of course, is vocalist for Death Angel. But is now doing vocals for Kerry King, and of course, they've actually were planning to go on tour opening for Wasp in the fall, but then Kerry King announced a South American tour, so now Mark can't do both. So Death Angel had to drop off of that tour. They're a little bitter about it, but I think, to me, it may be like a contractual agreement that Mark has with Kerry that he has to like tour with the release. I think that's the only thing I can think of, because I don't see Mark just like, fuck you guys. That's because that's been his band forever. So
it's so hard to say. I've seen it all. I've seen stuff like, well, yeah, contractually this, and like, if Kerry King or anybody in that spot is doing something and know they're going to tour and they're having for hire musicians, even though they are part of the band and the release, like, I would, and this is just an assumption, I would assume everything about the Kerry King band is owned full on by Kerry King, and Kerry King was that on Nuclear Blast? Well, either way, whoever put out the record, Kerry King, I'd assume Kerry King is the only one signed to that deal. And now Kerry King is hiring people for X amount of time to record.
Raining Phoenix.
But either way, I'd assume it's his band and he's hiring people. So I would, a contract thing like, all right, hey, you're going to record this record and I need you for X amount of tours or dates or blah, blah, blah. That would make sense to me. A guy who is in his own band forever, but I don't want to sound anywhere like shitty or making assumptions, because I don't have any negative feelings towards anything. First of all, I don't know these people personally, but secondly, I'm a fan of Slayer. I'm a fan of Kerry King musically, and I love Death Angel, and but I could see, I sing in this band's been in my band forever. Death Angel's kind of at like they're at the spot that they're at, like, so I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility that Mark was like, oh, well, I could do a support tour with Death Angel, which is going to be a lot of fun, or I could be part of this fresh new Kerry King thing that also maybe he's making more money. Maybe he just thinks it'll be more fun because it might be bigger crowds, more, more fun shows, yada, yada. I mean, I'm spouting so many assumptions here. I'm just saying I can see the whole realm of possibility being a thing. Maybe like, look, it's not that I'm mad at you guys and Death Angel or like I hate canceling, but like, just feel like this might be a little more fun, or it might be, hey, I'm making X amount on this tour and I'm making X plus Y on this tour. I got to do this. And could be contractual.
I also think if it was like already like known that Death Angel was going to open up for Wasp, and then Kerry King went ahead and booked this tour anyway, that's kind of an asshole move, man. Like,
I mean, wires get crossed. Like, communication should be easy, but it's not always as easy as it should be. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of moving parts with every band on Earth, with not just on a business level, but then there's so many personalities in a band. There's so many different life responsibilities in and out of the band. So without knowing exactly the circumstances, it's so hard to like be happy or be mad about anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then even if you do know the ins and the outs, like it's hard. Like, most people on Earth, especially in music, just want to like do what they think is right. So I would, if anyone was like, oh, what do you think about that? I would say, you know what? I'm sure everybody has their reasoning, and I hope everyone like is cool with each other and has a good time and stays friends and continues to make music.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they were reportedly going into the studio to record a new Death Angel album, so that's why it kind of threw me off that all this is like happening. Wow, okay, this is kind of wild, because I thought they were all like good to go with everything. Yes, Mark had to sign an NDA because he couldn't say anything about the Kerry King project or album until
Yeah.
So I mean, he couldn't even tell his band members, and he said, dude, that was the hardest thing I ever had to do in my life.
I could imagine.
I tell my brothers in my band, hey, I'm doing this thing with Kerry.
Yeah.
So, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Rob is the only actual original member of that.
He is, I believe. I think. Yeah. He might be.
It's kind of like you're not really all original anyway. I mean, you could probably go out and find another singer if you needed to. But I would hate that.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't.
Yeah.
There are Death Angel albums out there without Mark on them, so I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't come to that.
It's kind of weird, like time with everything already been announced.
Yeah, there seems to be lots of like weird timing things with Kerry King and his. So
pissed off at first that Slayer's doing a reunion tour. Now he's all like, "Oh yeah, we never said we were going to."
Yeah, I did, and you know what? Like, I've had, I'm pretty sure I've had only one interaction with Kerry King ever, and I kind of was able to laugh it off, and some of the other guys were not. So I mean, like I said, I've had one limited interaction with Kerry King. It's probably not fair to judge him for life based on that interaction.
Yeah, too. You always have like people like I see people like, oh man, I was meeting with try to catch John Cena and he's an asshole or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, he kept saying he was eating with his friends and didn't want to say, okay, well then leave him the fuck alone. Like,
yeah.
You don't bother. Like, and then like people were like mad because Rey Mysterio wouldn't sign their shit, and he's trying to catch a flight a layover flight. And shit, motherfucker, he ain't got time to sign your shit. Like,
yeah. Airport is the worst time to approach somebody that you don't know.
But I'm just saying, like, people don't understand. There's like limits to what you do, and you can't base your expression off of people.
Not only that, even in an environment where like, oh, like everybody should be cool. It's a bunch of dudes playing a show, and sometimes people are having a bad day.
Exactly.
So you might just catch somebody who's like just not in the mood for 15 minutes, and you caught them at minute 7. So anybody's free to make any judgment they want based on any interaction they want. But I try my best to not do that because, like, I'm sure I've given some people the worst first impression because, like, you caught me when I was like really, really mad for 3 minutes, and you caught me at 1.5 minutes, and I was shitty to you because, like, I'm in the middle of throwing a fucking temper tantrum or whatever, and like, oh no, Rick's such a prick forever, which is like, well, I have my moments, don't get me wrong, but like, oh man, like that person just caught me at the very, very wrong time, and like I didn't even know that I had an interaction with somebody.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So
it was
something like that, plus, like, I mean, I love Slayer, and Kerry King is kind of a cartoon character, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way. So even when straight up things that, like, oh, he said this and he said that, and he thinks this is cool, and he wears this shirt or whatever, like, what was that?
I said he actually has been a cartoon character before.
Yeah. So it's Kerry King from Slayer.
Yeah,
but I mean, on the other hand, who's like fucking the sickest? I've had same thing, like, oh, I've never really had a long interaction, but like, all right, I've had 3 interactions at different times with Gary Holt. Not that he knows that he's ever had an interaction with me. Gary Holt is fucking so cool every time in every situation. Like, oh,
he seems like a guy you like.
That's really nice.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
We actually had to. We got to interview Jack Gibson like a couple of years ago, which was cool.
That's sick.
Guys.
Oh yeah, I got a little starstruck when he admittedly got a little starstruck when he I mean, between him and Ricky Rackman, I had a couple of moments where I was a little starstruck at that expo where we were. So,
and I don't know if you know. I don't know if you know about the Ricky Rackman thing. Like, Ricky Rackman was not there as a guest. Like, we just seen him, and he's like, oh, that's Ricky Rackman. I said, man, I wonder what he's doing. And like, he was just selling merch. He wasn't really doing anything. And I said,
yeah,
I'm going to ask him to be on the fucking show. Fuck it. And like, I just went over there and started talking to him. And he's like, yeah, man. He said, and he was telling me, he's like, hey, I'm doing this thing where I'm going out telling stories and shit like that. And I was like, oh, cool. And he said, and he asked me, he said, what are you doing? And I said, oh, we're right over there, doing the podcast. We got Metalheads Unite podcast. He's like, oh, cool. He said, I tell you what, man, you buy 2 tickets to my show, I'll come over there and be on it. That's all right.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I bought 2 tickets to the show. He came over. It was like,
yeah,
he's like, he come over and I was walking around. He said, hey man, you gonna be good here in like 30 minutes? And I looked at my schedule and said, yeah, we don't have anybody. And so he's like, all right, I'll be over there here in a minute. Like,
yeah, he sat down with us for 10, 12 minutes. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's cool. We
he didn't have to do that. So
we did a covers EP in I guess it was 2020. I think we did it over COVID. We did the whole thing like remote and everything. We just did like 5 punk songs, and somehow it wound up in like the website got to Ricky Rackman. He tweeted about it. I was like, that's fucking crazy. He's because one of the songs we did was an Adolescence song, and he's like, this is great. Normally I don't like just check out shit that people send me on the internet, and normally I don't give a fuck about covers, but like, I love the Adolescence, when they were first playing, he was around during that time. He's like, this is like a really cool take. Like, yeah, I dig this. I was like, oh, that was super cool to me. I mean, it's fucking Ricky Rackman from Headbangers Ball.
Yes.
And in some way, him appreciating our Adolescence cover was even cooler than him like, oh yeah, I heard this new band. Like, here's a song. Like, oh, pretty cool. Like, if it was one of our own songs. I don't know why that was cooler. It shouldn't have been cooler. Maybe because that's the only thing that happened. But I thought that was like fucking sick.
And then Rick was like, take that, moviepoop.com.
That's right. Yeah. You know what we're gonna have to do between the 3 of us. We're gonna have to buy the domain for moviepoopshoot.com. We're just gonna have to buy the domain.
I would be surprised if somebody doesn't know it. Do you know that's from Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I know.
So I would be surprised if somebody doesn't own that.
Hell, Kevin
But,
Smith probably already owns it.
I figured that you knew what it was from because you
he
popped when
probably-
I said it the first time. So.
Yeah, he probably does own it. So, but still, that was a great reference. Fucking love it.
And one more thing, I know, I know we're probably getting deep. There's one more thing. Like, I don't know if you guys seen the story with Randy Blythe. He was talking about you looking out and seeing people on their cell phones, like a hold down show, and he's like, I'm just gonna start sitting on my stool and getting on my phone and saying, "Hey, you guys having fun?" And I get it to an point, like, but
I get it.
Yeah, how do you feel about that kind of situation when you like look out, and you see like 30 people on a fucking phone?
Just doing this for your whole set?
I mean, the energy isn't as cool as if they were not even like, "Whoa, go crazy," but if they're just kind of, if somebody is like up or in the background doing this, as opposed to it's a lot more fun. From my point of view, I understand his point of view. But I mean, I wouldn't take the stance of, "Oh, I'm getting mad. Everyone's just filming us." Now, on the other hand, I'm not playing to, 5,000 people a night where 3,000 of them are staring at me through a phone. If I was, I would understand. I get his point of view. Like, "Oh, come on, man, more of this shit. Like, what are you doing?" Because I mean, we all, well, you know what? We shouldn't say we all, because I actually don't. If I'm at a show and like, "Oh man, I'm having fun, this band's kicking ass," I might take out my phone and make sure I get, an 8-second clip to like, all right, I will do that. I'll put it on like my Instagram story, so I know I have that to look back on, or memories in a year. Like,
Right.
2 years ago, I saw this show that was sick, or like a buddy's band is playing, or like, I went to see Enforced the other day.
Ooh, nice.
And it was like, I was like, "Oh, I should take a little clip, because like next year I'll remember I had fun. In 2 years, blah, blah, blah." Also, like, Buds, I'll put it on the Extinction A.D. thing, like they might do if they were at one of our shows or whatever the fuck. So me personally, that's the extent, because if I was like, "Oh, I'm going to film," and like, "Oh, I love this song, I'm going to film this song," I would never go back and fucking watch 5 minutes of a live performance of my cell phone. Like, if I want to watch live performance of something that was sick, I'll go on YouTube, or I will just remember it.
Yeah.
But I'm also about to be 44. I don't know if like 18-year-olds, like that's just what they know, and they actually do go back and watch. I don't fucking know. So it's hard to say, because that doesn't happen at our shows. If there's one person who's filming like more than, a song, I would be surprised. Now, when we play, are there people who are like filming, 40 seconds, 50 seconds, maybe a minute and a half? Like, of course. Now, on the other hand, like, instead of me being like, "Why aren't you fucking be present, be psyched?" I'm more like, it's so cool that we're playing to like 100 or 200 people, but that person might put this on their social media, and maybe 400 people will watch this clip. Oh, so that means now we played in front of 600 people tonight. I mean,
that's true.
That's just my point of view. Also, like, hey, on a Wednesday night, somebody got off their ass, got into their car, drove 15 to 45 minutes when gas is not cheap, to come to this show. Then, after all of that, knowing like you probably have work in the morning, or school, or a fucking kid, or some other responsibility, because I feel like I'm irresponsible as an adult, and I also feel like I'm overwhelmed with responsibility. So that person probably has more responsibility than I do, and they aren't even playing. They're just observing, and they paid to get into this fucking show. If they want to record on their phone, like I owe them to be excited that they're at this show and that they're filming this show. Like, hey, brother with the phone, thank you so much for going out of your way to come. I don't give a fuck. And, that person might also go and buy a shirt. And even though I know that charging $25 or $30 for a t-shirt is regular, I'm also like, oh my God, I'm going to make somebody fucking spend $25 or $30 for a fucking stupid t-shirt. Like, now a Lamb of God shirt is probably 40. At this point $40. So like, I don't know. Like I said, where Rick in Extinction AD is coming from is a completely different world from where Randy from Lamb of God is coming from. I mean, we come from the same worlds that we're both like in metal bands, but we come from punk first. I watched something recently where he was just saying, like, I'm like not even really a metalhead. I'm like a punk guy, which I was like, oh, that's interesting. I never knew that about Randy Blythe. And it's funny because I am a metalhead, but I come from punk, and I'm just as much, if not more, of a punk guy than I am a metal guy when it really, really comes down to it. But,
I think he feels like, because he's a high energy guy, so I think he feels like, hey, I'm running across the stage back and forth and shit, and I don't expect you to be on your fucking phone for the whole set. You know what I mean?
Of course.
I don't think he's saying not at all, but I think he's saying, do your shots a couple times here and there, and then let's enjoy the fucking show. Like, don't be watching through a fucking cell phone.
I'm pretty sure his the main thing he was going for was, when you come to a show, be present in the environment that you're at a show. And nobody on earth can argue that. Like, of course, because being in the moment is fun. Mm-hmm. And then anything else is being calculated in life might be more responsible. Well, it's fucking boring. And that's why we come to shows, to be in the moment, to fucking light out. So from that point of view, I'm pretty sure that was what he was trying to say. Like you said, it wasn't like, oh, don't film us because, it's fucking bullshit. That's not what he's saying. I'm sure some media outlets were trying to, turn it that way. Yeah. So,
he's getting clickbait.
Yes, of course. Yeah. So, that's just.
Yeah. I see both sides, but I actually hope he doesn't.
Oh, the whole sitting down.
I hope he does. I hope he gets up and goes, no. Was that fun?
Yeah. Looking at his phone. Yeah. He should just start taking selfie, like, Instagram live videos while he's playing. But in all actuality, like, if he did that, the crowd would love it. Like, if he did that and then turned his back to the crowd, like, everybody would be trying to fucking get on the goddamn internet. So
they would. They absolutely would. Yep. Hey, so before, real quick, all right, hang on.
Another clip in the chamber too. So
to go black and then have to make a difficult decision regarding whether or not to go back.
Sorry, I went burnt sienna and never went back.
Ready, baby? Who's this clown?
Dude, you got to send me that video, and I'll find some way of editing that with our song.
Spectrum Internet.
But that's exactly where my head went.
Just a second, like, I do that. I do go and I'll record like 3-4 songs tops, maybe, and then I'll take a few pictures. But I usually take my pictures through the video, so I don't have to like go back and like separate picture thing. You know what I mean? So I'm really only taking like a couple, probably 15 minutes tops out of the whole set to do my video. But I put my stuff on a USB drive. And the reason I do it is because I know at some point I'm not going to be able to go to shows. I'm going to get old. I'm going to be able to go to shows. I can pop that in and watch it and be like, oh, I remember this. Or tell my grandkids about it. Like, hey, man, I was doing, or they may even see a band that, at some point that I've seen and be like, oh, yeah, I've seen those guys when they were like first starting, because I've seen bands that are now, but when they first started, they wouldn't even know enough to drink. So
right.
So So it's like, I actually, a band called Afterlife. I seen those guys. They weren't even old enough to drink. And
Yeah.
they had signed their first CD for me. I bought their CD at the show. They signed it. I said, cool. And I talked to them a little bit. And then, now, they're older and they're doing festivals and stuff, which is cool. And, but I always got that, like, I think he's like, they were doing like some kind of contest. Like, hey, if you ever seen us, tell us about our memory and we'll enter you in the contest. That was my memory. I said, yeah, I remember seeing you guys at, I think it was Marathon in Nashville, and you guys weren't even old enough to drink. And they started laughing. Said, that's hilarious. We remember that show. But I mean, it's like I said, you get those memories, that not necessarily through your phone, but like you said, you'll capture something from the show and it sticks with you. Just like, we talk about Testament with Chuck Billy forgetting lyrics, or it's always like,
yep,
there's something happens at some of these shows where it just sticks with you. You know what I mean? It's just like, without that, would that Testament show probably stuck with me? I mean, probably when I go back and look at the video. But if that hadn't happened, I would probably, now that we know that happened.
Oh, we've told that story multiple times.
Well,
yeah,
like,
because
you forgot the music. Like, oh yeah, it was fucking funny as
yeah.
Or you remember Steel Panther when we all dressed up like the '80s people? You know what I mean? It's like,
yep.
Yeah,
because like if that Testament show goes off without a hitch, we both bought a shirt, so we've got a souvenir from the show, but we also have something that is unique to just the people that showed up to the venue that night. Hey, you remember when Chuck Billy forgot his cue, and that was hilarious because everybody laughed at it. Guys on stage even laughed at it, and he just started the song back over, and the show went on. So that's a cool thing that is just exclusive to the however many people were in Nashville at the venue that night. Now everybody who was there on the tour, they got to see the show, they got to buy the shirts. Only the people who were in Nashville have that story. Chuck Billy forgot his entrance, so I mean, whatever. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be said for, grabbing a few pictures, I mean, hell, even that particular show, I got enough pictures to do a little bit of a collage on Instagram. So, I mean, I took enough pictures of each band, to do that. But I mean, other than that, I was right up against the rail. I was, right there, Alex Skolnick was this fucking far from me. And I was like, holy shit, he could spit on me. So, I mean, thankfully he didn't, but he could have. So, I mean,
and Chris will probably tell you, I spend like stupid amounts of money on merch. I probably should. So,
and I wish I could spend more. So,
I go.
Dude. I mean, not the same, but like same vibe. Since we moved back to New York, transferred my job, went from like a different pay structure. So I'm making like okay money, and the place we're living, it's affordable for us and everything. And the amount of money that I've like spent on like wrestling figures since we moved back to New York is like, oh boy, what are you doing? It's like, well, I have a new office and I have all this room and I could display this shit finally, and I could complete this collection. So
now you know what I got to do, right, Chris? I got to go in and record my wrestling wall in here.
Of course, yeah.
Video.
Of course you do. Yeah, of course you do.
Yeah, we'll compare our wrestling collections next time.
Well, I actually got like a bunch. So I bought, I don't know if you remember like the old rubber ones, like the Hogan's and
LJN.
Yeah, LJN ones.
LJN toys. Hell yeah.
I got about 30 to 40 of them dudes that I got to redo. That I got off somebody for like $60.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I was never big on the LJNs. But I would acquire some here and there. But the next line, the Hasbros, the 4.5 inch, that's like my main shit. And there's so many companies like expanding on that line now, and some I'll buy from, some I won't. But I'm not complete on my original Hasbros, but I'm getting close, and I finally, where we are now, have like fucking space and like nice like detail shelves and all this shit. So
Did you ever have the ones where you could put your thumbs in the back?
The thumb wrestlers. I had a Hogan Piper 2-pack. In all actuality, those were the first wrestling figures I ever had when I wasn't even like super into wrestling, but just got them because like, oh, this is fun toys.
Yeah.
Yes, and I had those for a long time, but they like withered away, and then wound up in a big purge of toys.
I wish I had the first set of action figures I ever bought was the AWA Remco figures.
Jesus!
Yep. I had
those, man. I wish I still had them.
I had a Michael Hayes and a Terry Gordy of those. But Terry Gordy had the head, Michael Hayes didn't. When I had those figures, I didn't know who Michael Hayes or Terry Gordy was. And then eventually Gordy's head got like all like moldy, rubbery. So the other guy, wrestler in red trunks, doesn't have a head. Took the head off, and I would use them as a tag team with fucking no heads. And I wound up ditching them. Even after I wound up getting huge into wrestling, I finally got rid of those toys. But I didn't know that AWA Remco figures was a thing till years later. And then finding out, like, oh my God, I fucking had 2 of the Freebirds, and I ditched them. So the only figures from that line I have now are Ric Flair figures. I have very strict rules on my toy collecting now. So I have a Ric Flair collection. I have an Ultimate Warrior collection. And then I could collect WWF, WWE, Hasbro styled figures. So original Hasbro or newer companies making those figures. If it doesn't fit into one of those 3, I cannot have wrestling toys. It's very, very, very limited of what I have outside of that as far as wrestling. I have a very small Wolverine collection. I have a very, very small Star Trek collection, a very small Star Wars collection, and a very small Howard the Duck collection.
Howard the Duck. Oh, shit.
Yeah. And a very small Ricky Henderson, but Yankee-based collection. But it's very, very specific rules. So it's not like, oh, I just collect all this shit. Otherwise, I did that for years, but I've bought and sold like many, many times. So
that's a smart way to do it.
A lot of my wrestling figures are a lot of dead guys right now. So it's like they're not going anywhere for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, so having like Eddie Guerrero, of course, Owen Hart, I got figures like that. People's like, oh, I'll give you some. Which was crazy. I meant to tell you, I don't know if I told you, Chris, the last show that we were at the Lamb of God show in Atlanta, I was wearing my vest. A guy come up and said, hey man, how much you take for that vest? I'll buy it from you right now. Get back. I'm just like,
someone offered to buy your battle vest? Oh shit.
My battle vest. It's actually hanging right here.
That's crazy. I told my wife, I said I don't have one. I said I need to get one.
Got dime on the back of it, so I guess that's why he kind of wanted it.
Yeah.
He was like, oh man, how much you want? And Susie said, you should have told him $500 and just went and got you another one. And I'm like, yeah, but most of those patches on there are from shows that I went to.
Right. Yeah.
Not to mention, stuff like that is like that's a personal thing. I'd assume, probably a bad assumption, but I mean, for the most part, there's not 2 identical battle vests, and like,
not that I've seen.
It's kind of the point,
Right,
that's an interesting thing. Someone wanting, it's not like, oh my God, that's a rare T-shirt or whatever. Like, no, that's your cultivated personal expression within like our tribe. That's interesting. I've never heard that before. Somebody wanting something. Almost.
That's the first time anybody's ever said that.
It almost feels like unsavory. Like Yeah,
It's almost like,
it's a
yeah,
little-
I'll trade them for your grandmother's ashes or something. You know?
yeah, it's almost like, hey, can I cut off your face and put that on me?
Puts the lotion on its skin.
Yeah, that's weird. It was like a funny anecdote. Now it's kind of almost be like, oh, that's a little dirty.
Yeah.
Why would you want to? What are you doing,
Well,
bro?
it's definitely. Well, I mean, it's definitely cheating by somebody's already
That also, yeah.
already built battle vest. Yeah,
It's like stealing someone's jokes.
Well, yeah. It was.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, before I forget, so how did Matt Heafy come into play in this album? That was kind of interesting. I was like, wow.
You know what? It's not really like a long story or anything. He's been a supporter of the band since the inception. You know, been like a buddy of ours, a buddy of our manager. He helped me out get connected with the company that I use as my audio interface to record all my shit. He's been just helpful and like little things like that. So when I was like, oh, I think I actually want to do like a guest feature, which we've never done because I think overusing the guest feature thing works for other bands, and I have nothing negative to say about it. It doesn't sit right to me to just do it all the time. You know, I think
it's a balance. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Like if you're going to do it, have it be someone that could really add something to the song. And whether or not they're a big name isn't even like a thing to me. It's more of whether, you know, person A fits with song A. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I wonder if any of these songs would like benefit from someone or whatever. Whatever. We'll deal with it when it comes. When we are writing Impervious, we have everybody has working titles, but the working title for that song was The Kong, or like King Kong. So I was like, told the dudes, I was like, yo, I think, what would you think about having Heafy on Conger? They're like, really? Like, over what part? I was like, well, this part. Like, what do you want him to do? I was like, I have a couple ideas. They're like, oh yeah, that'd be cool. So I said, hey dude, would you be into this? I could send you the demo and the lyrics. I'll even like record like a guide track, and you could use that as much as you'd like or disregard it. You know, at this point, like, this is what I have, but also go crazy. You know, if we didn't trust him to do his thing, we wouldn't have asked him to do it.
Right. Yeah.
And he was like, oh, totally. It's like, oh, all right, cool. So we sent it. He's like, oh, is this okay? You want me to do it? No, man. What you did is fucking perfect. Thank you. Yeah. So it was really that easy. And he was like, oh, he was appreciative, as if like we were doing him, I don't want to say a favor, but like he was appreciative, which I appreciate him being appreciative, but like, yo, you're doing us a service. So it was like, yo, this is a fucking real. I mean, he's a nice guy. He's just like a fucking nice guy.
He totally seems like it. Yeah.
So it was like, all right, cool. I was like, yo, we're going to use this as a single. You cool with that? He's like, oh my God, let me know when it's going to be out. Like, I'll blast it on my radio shows. That's really cool. So I was like, yo, you want to be part of the video? Like, we were planning on doing that video around, if you're going to do it. We kind of want to do one of those play at home things, but just elevated, you know, instead of, oh, you know, we're at home on a fucking iPhone. Like, we're going to do this as a real video, and then we're going to make it look like a fucking VHS anyway, because we're obsessed with the 90s for some because everybody our age is fucking just wants to be a kid all the time.
Yeah, that's true. Yes.
He's like, totally, where do you want me to do it? I was like, hey, you want to do it in your fucking compound? That'd be cool. He's like, oh yeah, that makes it even easier for me. So cool. So he just, him and his video engineer recorded it, sent it. He's like, oh, is this cool? I said, dude, more than cool. Put it in our video, and there it was. Really simple. It all was like, I could have summed this up. Oh, how'd you get, had the connection with Heafy go. He's really fucking nice. He's a very generous person.
No, we won't detail. You know how we are now, surely.
Oh yeah.
And I'm the worst at it. That's why we're here for 3 hours.
Oh, we knew
We
we
see Rick Jimenez on our show. Where it's like, no, we're going to be here.
yeah we
Yeah.
knew yeah we are more than well aware of what we signed up
We
for.
anticipate.
Yeah.
So, and it's like it is no worries at all for us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more. Chris would be the one suffering from it than anybody because I work nights anyway. So he's
Yeah.
the day shift guy. So.
Yeah, but no, I'm fine. No,
I mean,
it's okay.
he's just not often we can carry the show.
Yeah, I just
But no, we've like Matt to me is like one of those guys that's I feel like he's a supporter of the up and coming bands.
Mhm.
I've actually seen them, the Trivium and Beartooth. Went to that back.
you got a poster up on the wall somewhere, I think.
What year it was? I think it was last year. But Malevolence opened up, which Malevolence opened up for Lamb of God and Mastodon too, which was cool as fuck because I didn't even know they were going to be there because they were only on late dates for this tour, and I was like, oh fuck yes, Malevolence is here, which I got a patch I got to put on my list.
Yeah, see, you got it.
But yeah, so I think those guys are one of the up and coming big name bands. They will be in that Trivium Lamb of God talk probably in a few years.
Oh yeah, dude. They crush, and they are nice. I mean, they're English, you know, but they are nice guys. Fucking Charlie is like such a sweetheart.
Have you gotten to play with those guys at all?
Yeah. We played with them a handful of times last summer in Europe. We crossed paths a couple of times on like festivals and stuff. And we've had like even before that, like, we chatted internet style. I think some of those guys were like This Is Hell fans from when they were kids also too. But nice guys, and they crush. Genuine, which is like the foundation to me of like, oh, is this band cool? Like, well, they're genuine as far as like musically and as like dudes, and then on top of that, like, oh yeah, and then they fucking kill. So
like humble. They seem humble.
Yep.
I mean, Matt does too. Matt, I think that's one of the things I like. About Matt. He's humble. He don't like throw his like weight around to do things.
No, nope.
He just kind of does what, like you said. We've heard this story before where people was like, oh yeah, we just asked him to do it, and he was like, yeah, what you got? It's like,
yeah, he does. He collaborates a lot.
Like, not taking away from you guys, but they've actually taken a break, which they deserved because I think they were on the road for 4 or 5 years solid.
Yeah, Trivium. Yeah.
They had like two albums back to back years. I'm just like, damn, dude, like slow down. And I say that all the time. Every time I was like see something with you guys, I'm just like, damn, Rick needs to slow the fuck down. Like,
we don't think you've only got one speed, Rick. So it's just so the fact that we got you to talk to us for 3 hours is amazing, because I'm sure even though it's 2:15 a.m. up there in New York, you're probably going to get off of here and like go work out or something.
No, I actually planned my day, so I did my workout down here in the basement studio right beforehand. I was like, I'll come down here, around like 9:30, and then by the time I'm done, I'll just hop from the side that's the gym to the side that's
there you go. Okay,
the Go Time studio and be good to go. But
like, good to go, man.
Yep, there it is. But yeah, man. Well, thank you guys. Always appreciate you guys having me on and hanging out and chatting and
hell yeah, dude. It's always
giving us a platform to talk about the band. Yep.
Like I said, man, it's like crazy. We've done this 3 times and it's always been damn near 3 hours.
Yeah.
Every time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
You would think all these guys can't carry a conversation with this guy that many times.
We'll see. Maybe next year we'll try to put a 2-hour limit on it, but I mean, who gives a fuck?
Yeah, no, we don't. Yeah, we don't.
We always go as long as the guest wants to go. Like,
Yeah.
if something happened, we have to go 2 hours. I'm like, all right, cool.
And the funny thing is guests that like some of the guests we've had recently, they've been like, you know, is there a certain amount of time we need to go? Like, no.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had interviews go 75 minutes. We've had interviews go 180, like this one. So I mean, you know, we're just hanging out on a Friday night. That's all we're doing.
I would even be all for keeping going if I didn't need to hit the bathroom.
No, that's fine.
That protein got him. I was like,
Yeah. I'm carrying 300 milligrams of caffeine, and then also a 16 ounces of protein shake.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that brick wall behind him. That's how it got built.
I think that's a synonym for his self.
Yeah, that's not a fake. That's not a fake background. That's an actual brick wall.
This how it is in New York, man. I'm out in an alley recording this show. Like,
The other wall's a chain link fence.
People playing basketball across the street, you just can't hear it.
He's hanging outside. He's doing a podcast, a guest spot outside of Rucker Park. So,
man, as always, Rick, man, it is a pleasure, dude.
Absolutely.
All right. Cool, man. Thank you, guys. And when the little clips go up, let me know. I'll do all reposting and all that stuff.
Yes, sir. Thanks. And hey, before we go, when the little documentary comes out, is that cool? We share that too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, please do. Yeah. Right. Monday, usually it's European time. So that's I think it's England time, so not EU. So I think it's 5 hours in the future for me, so 6 hours for you guys. So it might be something going up, Sunday at 6 p.m. or something. But
okay, yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye out for it, and we'll share it when it comes out.
Cool. Hopefully you guys enjoy it.
Oh, absolutely. I don't have any doubts.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Great to hang out again. Hopefully next year we'll see you, or maybe even by the end of this year. But I mean, I don't know why it's so difficult for us to get that far. But
I mean, there's plenty of venues here. So
yes, there is.
If you need help, we'll put some.
Hell yeah.
We'll put some names on you.
That's right. Yep.
All right, guys. Hopefully I'll see you soon.
Yeah. Talk soon.
All right. Peace.
Take care. Man. Rick Jimenez, man, he's never disappoints. We've talked to him
every day of the week, dude.
Yeah, I mean we've talked to him now for, I think it combined probably all three interviews probably pushing 10 hours at this point. And I mean it just flies by. It does. It just flies by.
Well, that's what I was saying. It was amazing that you talked to somebody that many times and you can still put out a reality show. Unreal.
I think that there's a lot of variables to it. I mean, it's just at this point, I think it's kind of just like, of course, he's a friend of the show at this point, and I think it's kind of a little bit of a testament, no pun intended, to kind of just the way we've kind of decided to set up this interview format just from the get-go, just keeping it casual. And it goes where it goes as long as it goes. Hell, we talked about action figures. We talked about wrestling. We talked about fucking geography. I mean, hell, we talked about, Nashville, Detroit, New York. So, I mean, we talked about some personal stuff, professional stuff. So, I mean, we just flow with it and just hell, well, Rick told us the first interview. He's like, I'm a talker, man. You give me a chance to go, and I'll go, and he does, and that's fine. It actually makes our job as interviewers easier.
Yeah, definitely makes sense. We always appreciate Rick. You guys check out the new album, To the Detested.
You'll enjoy it.
What's the record label again?
Unique Leader.
Yeah, Unique Leader.
Yep.
News to you.
Yep. Unique Leader Records.
check out the album over there if you want a hard copy.
Yep.
And Rick, give me an Extinction A.D. Cool. All right. Well, that means we wrap this up evening unless you have anything to add.
No, I think I'm good. I mean, thankfully, we had the ticker down there at the bottom, so hopefully, if anyone was kind of wondering about some of the news of the week, we kind of gave you guys some headlines down there at the bottom. I think that might be. Can't speak for every guest we have, but that might be something we do when we have interviews, because obviously there's stuff that goes on during the week, but when we have a guest on, obviously the interview with the guest is the thing that we focus on. So, but there is stuff that happened, Jack Russell passed away, stuff like that. Scott Ian's father died, the Randy Blythe thing, stuff like that. So they're the Death Angel thing. So there are things that happen. So, so want to keep you guys up to date the best we can on that. But of course, scrolling across the bottom of the screen now is the 24/7 live radio station, stream.trulyradio247.com/8008/stream. Metalheads Unite USA at gmail.com is our email address. Follow us on all of our social media, on Instagram, on X, on Twitch, on Rumble, on our YouTube channel, Spotify, TikTok, and both of our Facebook pages, the private group and the public page. So.
And as far as we know, we'll be back to our regular formatting next week unless something changes.
Yeah, because we thought we were doing the classic format this week up until about 2 days ago. So
we were prepared for it, and I was like, "Hey, man, you guys get that album coming out. You come back on the show anytime you want." He's like, "How about Friday?" I'm like, "Okay,
perfect. Yeah, perfect. Absolutely.
You gotta ask me twice, dude." Like,
yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah. Say less. Yeah.
But we'll be back probably with this program next week. We will try to throw some album reviews on our Facebook page there, so that you can follow that. It is public.
Yep. Absolutely.
Album reviews there. So anything else we need to discuss real quick? Good.
Not as far as I know.
Well, we will see you guys back here next week. It won't be 3 hours. We're just us.
No, if it's just the two of us.
No. It's not going too long. Until then, you guys keep those horns held high.
Have a great week, guys. Thank you very much.